Chapter 1833. On the deck, Xiaochen knocked an arrow on the god's shadow bow. Then, he grasped the bow handle. In that instant, he felt a connection with the bow. Suddenly, a mysterious perception came from the god's shadow bow. Xiaochen's field of vision zoomed in. This was the power of the god's shadow bow. He did not circulate any veritable essence energy or open his heavenly eye. The instant Xiaochen grasped the bow, his field of vision zoomed in. It felt like he was only 1 kilometer away from 50 kilometers away. He was so close that he could see everything clearly. The perception from the god's shadow bow was still searching for its target. When the god's shadow bow saw the little monk hundreds of kilometers away, the god's shadow bow's perception quickly searched for its target. When it saw the little monk hundreds of kilometers away, a vague question immediately appeared in Xiaochen's mind. That was the god's shadow bow's consciousness, asking Xiaochen if he was the target. This was probably the feeling of being connected by heart and flesh. After the god's shadow bow obtained Xiaochen's confirmation, the perception in front instantly focused on the little monk's body. The little monk, who felt that something was wrong, moved quickly, flashing about. The little monk's movement technique was so terrifying that even a regular holy venerate would not be able to catch him. However, no matter how the little monk moved, Xiaochen could see all the trajectories clearly. A formless line shot out from the god's shadow bow, firmly locking onto the little monk. Between the 2 points and the line, Xiaochen, you do not need to do anything else. You only need to draw the bowstring. Even if you hide to the ends of the world, it will be useless. Buzz! Xiaochen slowly drew the bowstring. He immediately felt his soul energy flow into the bow like flowing water. However, the bowstring did not move at all, showing no intention of moving at all. I can't draw it. Xiaochen immediately felt startled. He felt that he had gone overboard. He had underestimated the might of a soul tool. Furthermore, the bow in his hand was no ordinary soul tool. The 8 supreme treasures that the Scarlet Blood Pirate King had purposely collected were all very special. It was very likely that the little monk would really die after this arrow was shot. Not to mention using the heart flame, just shooting this arrow made Xiaochen's heart pound. However, there was no turning back. Little monk, I can only let you down. After draining a third of Xiaochen's soul energy, the god's shadow bow's bowstring finally drew back by 1 centimeter. Boom! Just as Xiaochen was about to let go, the arrow knocked on the bow exploded, unable to withstand the immense force. A huge hole instantly appeared on the deck of the demonic ship. The huge force sent Xiaochen flying on the spot, and his body directly crashed into the observation deck. With a bang, Xiaochen spat out a mouthful of blood and collapsed to the ground. His face was extremely weak. Wang, the bowstring was still vibrating slightly, and the remaining energy exploded in all directions. Bang! Bang! The defenses of the black cutlass appeared extremely weak before this power. One after another, huge holes were blasted open. Waves rolled in all directions, causing the entire ship to shake violently. A moment later, the entire demonic ship was blown up, leaving only its skeleton. Xiaochen struggled to get up. He let out a bitter laugh when he saw this scene. This time, he had indeed gone too far and played himself. There was a reason why soul tools were called soul treasures. No wonder only rank 6 demonic sects knew of them. Ordinary people could not control them as they pleased. The price of a mistake would not be as simple as death. Big brother, what are you doing? Why don't I understand? The little monk heard the terrifying explosion and rushed over. The scene before him stunned him. The completed black cutlass was riddled with holes. Xiaochen's complexion was pale and weak. For an instant earlier, I felt death approaching. No matter what I did, I could not shake it off. That nearly scared me to death. Big brother, quickly tell me what martial technique you used the heavenly heart art to research. I really do not understand at all. The little monk said excitedly, not understanding what was going on. He thought that Xiaochen had used the heavenly heart finger to comprehend an extremely terrifying martial technique like him. In the end, the little monk did not grasp the degree of control, resulting in failure. Xiaochen said indifferently, "If you can understand it, am I still your big brother? Quickly go and capture a ferocious beast for me. The more ferocious, the better." "Okay." Yan Chen scratched his head and left to carry out the order. How unlucky! As Xiaochen looked at the black cutlass, he felt like crying, but no tears came out. However, after being with the little monk, his heart had already become very strong. He was mentally prepared for any misfortune. Fortunately, this black cutlass was now a demonic ship. It only needed one ferocious beast. After the immemorial demon soul formation absorbed flesh and souls, the ship could slowly recover. There was no need to worry. Holding the god's shadow bow, Xiaochen carefully put it away. He made up his mind not to use it unless he had no other choice. The god's shadow bow was a great killing tool. He could not test the might of the heart flame. Instead, he might as well use an ordinary bow to test it. After rummaging through his storage ring, Xiaochen took out the dust-covered Soul Slayer bow. Then, he gently patted the bow to get rid of the dust. When he saw this bow, he could not help thinking about the past in the Sky Dome realm. He remembered that this bow could bring out a lot of might based on how much vital chi one had. Its origins were very mysterious. One could draw this bow only with pure vital chi. However, Xiaochen knew that there was no such thing as a limit in this world. The Kunlun realm had not tested this bow's limits yet. Now was a good time to test it out. Boom! Xiaochen knocked an arrow, drew the bow, and drew the bowstring. When Xiaochen used one cauldron force, it startled him slightly. To think that he did not draw the bow to its fullest. Xiaochen continued to pour in more vital chi. Soon, it reached 10 cauldron force. Xiaochen discovered that the more vital chi he infused, the more horrifying the resistance he faced. He could not help feeling startled. What exactly was the origin of this bow? Now that he was in the Kunlun realm, he still could not draw it to its fullest. After thinking about it, there was only one possibility. Xiaochen could only say that when forging this bow, the formation he infused in it might have been an immortal Tao formation from the previous epoch. The strength of the formation made up for the bow's inferior material. By the time Xiaochen used 20 cauldron force, the bowstring was still not drawn to its fullest. Dragon roars rang out endlessly in his body. As Xiaochen drew the Soul Slayer bow, his aura soared continuously. An item from the Sky Dome realm gave him a pleasant surprise. The heavenly heart art slowly circulated, and a strand of heart flame appeared at the tail of the arrow. Then, it spread out and merged with the entire arrow. Whoosh! Xiaochen let go, and the arrow infused with heart flame soared into the sky. The arrow immediately pierced through a late-stage star venerate ferocious beast in the sky. It cried out miserably as it fell into the sea. The black cutlass pounced over like a hungry tiger. The immemorial demon soul formation activated, and scarlet demonic chi spread out, quickly swallowing up the ferocious beast. As the black cutlass swallowed up the ferocious beast, the blood mist spreading out thickened. The holes in the black cutlass slowly healed. Xiaochen stood upright while holding the bow, entering deep thought. It seemed to be weaker than the little monk's heavenly heart finger. However, it was much faster. Furthermore, the drain was negligible. Xiaochen took out another arrow. However, this time, he knocked 3 arrows at the same time. The 3 arrows infused with heart flame tore through the sky. In the next moment, 3 miserable cries came from the sky as 3 ferocious beasts fell into the water. Xiaochen smiled faintly and said, "Without a doubt, this simplified version of heart force is the most perfect combination with the bow and arrow." Then, Xiaochen knocked another arrow. Using only one cauldron force, he drew the bowstring and opened his heavenly eye. Immediately, Xiaochen's vision expanded. Using his heavenly eye, he allowed the Soul Slayer bow in his hand to reach a level similar to the God Shadow bow. Xiao Chen wanted to test the limits of the heart flame's range and might when infused with an arrow. Soon, his vision extended to 500 kilometers. Then, Xiao Chen locked on to a towering mountain. Boom! The instant Xiao Chen let go, that towering mountain turned into dust and vanished from the vast sea. This development stunned Xiao Chen. In the next moment, he startled awake. What fast speed! This was already a power that the Soul Slayer Bao could not achieve. Heart Force, even the simplified version of Heart Force, had a flabbergasting might. The faster one's heart was, the faster one's arrow would be. The farther one's heart was, the farther one's arrow would be. Suddenly, Xiao Chen gained some comprehension of Heart Force. He vaguely felt like he had touched something. Heart Force is indeed unfathomable. Back then, when I saw those stone pillar spaces in the Scarlet Blood Pirate King's body, I felt that they were boundlessly vast, comparable to the starry heavens. Perhaps they were influenced by the Scarlet Blood Pirate King's Heart Force. Xiao Chen collected his thoughts and muttered to himself, no matter what. No matter what, he had figured out how to use this simplified version of Heart Force, just like the little monk. The little monk was the reincarnation of a great Buddha. His horrifying comprehension ability could not be judged by the standards of ordinary people. The heavenly heart finger was not created by just anyone. Even without Xiao Chen's comprehension ability, he could still find a way to use heart force that was not inferior to the little monk's. It was already something to be proud of. Satisfied, Xiao Chen put away the Soul Slayer Bao. There were still 3 supreme treasures that he had not looked at carefully. One was a secret manual, one was the Qiongqi Beast Ghost Pennant, and one was a wondrous mutated fruit. Just by smelling the mutated fruit, Xiao Chen felt a comfortable chill. He felt an urge to burn his bloodline. This was a mutated fruit that strengthened the physique and improved the power of one's bloodline. Its ability was the same as the life juice source that Xiao Chen once obtained. However, its effects should be vastly different. It was not time to consume it yet. Xiao Chen put away the mutated fruit and looked at the ghost pennant. Since Xiao Chen had the experience of using a soul tool before, he took a quick look at it. Then, he only left his mark in the ghost pennant before placing it in his storage ring. Just thinking about the god Shadow Bao, he knew that the ghost pennant's might was not far from it. Finally, there was only one secret manual left. The words, Demonic Cloud Heaven Swallowing Art, were written on the cover. Xiao Chen gave it a cursory look. This was an extremely tyrannical demonic Dao cultivation technique. The demonic clouds that lingered in the starry sea formed because the Scarlet Blood Pirate King cultivated this demonic Dao cultivation technique. After flipping through it, Xiao Chen carefully put it away as well. Indeed, he lacked a demonic Dao cultivation technique. Although this demonic Dao cultivation technique was tyrannical, it did not require one to eat humans or absorb souls. It was directly comprehended from the ancient ferocious beast, the demonic cloud bird. Its origins were extremely ancient. Then. Xiao Chen made up his mind. The demonic Dao cultivation technique that he would cultivate in the future would be this demonic cloud heaven swallowing art. However, speaking of which, the little monk has been gone for so long. Why is he not back yet? The black cutlass had swallowed a few ferocious beasts and had already recovered. Ha 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 ha. Big brother, I'm back. I found a huge bird for you. It is definitely very ferocious. I nearly let it run away. Just as Xiao Chen was thinking, the little monk's familiar laughter came from the distance. He saw the little monk in a somewhat sorry state, with some horrifying wounds on his body. However, he had a smile on his face. The little monk dragged a huge scarlet bird as he walked on the surface of the sea, slowly heading towards the black cutlass. Nearly all the feathers on that huge bird had been plucked clean, looking very miserable. He struggled ceaselessly and let out miserable howls, but he just couldn't break free. Xiao Chen frowned slightly. Why did this bird's voice sound somewhat familiar? Furthermore, that figure and silhouette seemed familiar. Chapter 1834. Big brother, this bird is very ferocious. It is really foolish. Ha ha ha. It purposely fled a few times and then turned back to sneak attack. Did it think that I did not know? The little monk was very ruthless. He forcefully folded the wings of the huge bird together and tried to grab it. Just like that, he dragged it over the surface of the sea. Whoosh! Xiaochen found this somewhat familiar. His figure flashed, and he landed on the surface of the sea to observe it closely. Aside from the feathers on its tail, the scarlet bird had lost nearly all its feathers. It was bald, and its huge body now looked pitifully thin and weak. This startled Xiaochen. To think that it really was the demon blood vulture. Initially, he only found it somewhat familiar. After careful observation, he finally confirmed it. Upon seeing this scene, Xiaochen could not help laughing loudly. Where did you catch it? The little monk answered honestly, it charged over on its own. I did not go far before I saw it flying in our direction. Its entire body was filled with killing qi and a strong demonic nature. I felt that it would not be easy to deal with, so I was about to give up. Who knew, this despicable bird pecked me on the head and left with a strange smile. I really could not endure it. Look, you nearly got pecked through. With one look, there was indeed a clear mark on the little monk's shiny bald head. The demon blood vulture, which the little monk caught, wept in its heart after it completed the trial of its race. After completing the experiential training of its race, its strength had soared again. Without even thinking, it immediately came out to seek revenge on Xiaochen. After wandering around for a long time, the demon blood vulture sensed the aura of the black cutlass and gave chase. Along the way, the demon blood vulture saw a bald head on the surface of the sea. Out of curiosity, it pecked at the bald head. Unexpectedly, it caused such huge trouble. Even after using all its tricks, it could not defeat this monk. After being caught, the demon blood vulture was in a sorry state. The little monk, whose head had never been injured before, plucked out all its feathers in a fit of anger. The more surprising thing was yet to come. The little monk actually brought the demon blood vulture to Xiaochen. This was a great humiliation. Originally, the demon blood vulture wanted to appear awe-inspiring and teach Xiaochen a lesson. Who would have thought that he would turn into a General Five Hairs, appearing in such a sorry state? This made the vengeful demon blood vulture want to find a hole to hide in. Its pitiful reputation was ruined just like that. Let it go. It's my familiar. Xiaochen could not help smiling as he looked at the demon blood vulture's appearance. The little monk exclaimed, "This is Big Brother's demonic pet. How is this possible? I am the king blood vulture, the king blood vulture. How could it be someone else's magic pet? Don't listen to it." The demon blood vulture cried out in its heart, "Don't let me go. This great me is not anyone's demonic pet." Naturally, Xiaochen and the little monk would not care about what it was thinking. The small monk stammered, "Big brother, I'm really sorry for stripping your demonic pet." Xiaochen smiled casually. "It's fine. Go and rest first. I have something to say to the demon blood vulture." "Hee hee, Big brother is really magnanimous. Then I'll leave first." He had accidentally left Xiaochen's demonic pet in such a state. He was too embarrassed to continue staying here. Feeling as though a heavy burden had been lifted from his shoulders, the little monk quickly left. Now, only Xiaochen and the featherless demon blood vulture remained. One man and one beast watched quietly. The demon blood vulture was the first to give in. It continuously cursed Xiaochen in its heart. When it saw Xiaochen's eyes, it always felt fear. This was especially so in its current weakened state. When it flapped its wings weakly, it discovered that it could not fly at all. Xiaochen stepped forward, and the demon blood vulture retreated in a fluster. Then, it advanced again and retreated again. Plop! The demon blood vulture stumbled and nearly fell, nearly getting swept away by the waves. Strange, what's wrong with this silly bird? I'm just treating its injuries. Why did it get so agitated? Xiaochen rubbed his chin, feeling somewhat confused and suspicious. Did it really become stupid? It looks like I have to reconsider the mysterious beast list that I intend to give it. Don't move. Boom. Xiaochen extended out his will of soul and finally used a forceful method to restrain the demon blood vulture. The demonic nature in Xiaochen's body activated, and the demonic nature veritable essence energy in his primal core spread throughout his body. His eyes turned pitch black. It's over. It's over. It's really going to eat me. The demon blood vulture was frightened into trembling. However, in the next moment, Xiaochen used his demonic qi veritable essence energy to treat its injuries. Black demonic qi entered the demon blood vulture's body, and its injuries slowly healed. Feathers quickly grew back all over its body. What a strong recovery speed! What fortuitous encounter did this demon blood vulture encounter? Xiaochen felt startled. Although his demonic qi veritable essence energy was vast, it could not produce such a great healing effect. It looks like this demon blood vulture must have encountered something when it disappeared. When the demon blood vulture's wings were fully feathered, Xiaochen took a closer look and discovered that the changes were rather great. First was the tail feathers. There was a golden line in the middle of the scarlet tail feathers. Then, there was a faint golden light flickering in the demon blood vulture's eyes. This fellow's bloodline is mutating. Xiaochen felt startled. Fortunately, it was the little monk who ran into it. If it were anyone else, it would have eaten them already. Suddenly, Xiaochen recalled the little monk's words. The demon blood vulture had taken the initiative to fly towards him. Furthermore, it had come in a ferocious manner, radiating killing qi. With this thought, Xiaochen stopped what he was doing and looked at this demon blood vulture with a strange gaze. Could it be here to seek trouble for me? The demon blood vulture, which was plotting in secret, suddenly saw Xiaochen's suspicious gaze. It was startled and quickly lowered its head. Boom! Just at this moment, a demonic might swept out in all directions. Demonic clouds churned in the sky and quickly covered the sky above the black cutlass before stopping. Big brother, a sovereign personage expert is here, the little monk said anxiously from the deck. He was somewhat worried that the sovereign personages of the three great demonic Dao sects had caught up. Xiaochen frowned slightly. He ignored the demon blood vulture and returned to the demonic ship. Who knew, when the demon blood vulture saw the demonic clouds in the sky, it became even more afraid than Xiaochen. The demon blood vulture flew up in a fluster and hid in the spirit beast platform of the black cutlass. Something's wrong with the aura. It feels like a ferocious beast, Xiaochen said softly. The one that came did not seem like a demonic Dao cultivator but more like a terrifying ferocious beast. The little monk said softly, a ferocious beast is also a sovereign personage ferocious beast. It will die an even more miserable death. This was true. The means of ferocious beasts were much more brutal than cultivators. Xiaochen did not say anything. He only took out the god's shadow bow and knocked an arrow. This time, he learned from the previous lesson and merged the heart flame with the arrow in advance, preventing it from exploding from the god's shadow bow's strong force. A soul tool. The little monk exclaimed in sudden understanding. Big brother, were you trying to use this soul tool to shoot me earlier? I was wondering why I could not shake off the feeling of death looming over me. Xiaochen's expression did not change as he countered indifferently, how can that be? Am I that kind of person? You are. The demon blood vulture thought to itself as it peeked its head out from the spirit beast platform. The little monk scratched his head, wondering if he had wronged his big brother. Young man, put away the soul tool in your hand. It cannot injure me. I do not have any malicious intent either. Suddenly, a thought appeared in Xiaochen's mind, startling him. What a terrifying ferocious beast. The thought broke through his heart's defenses and forcefully appeared in his mind. Cannot injure me. That is hard to say. However, I believe that you do not have any malicious intent. Xiaochen put away the god's shadow bow and did not prepare to attack. He saw a pair of terrifying eyes at the limits of his vision. The owner of those eyes was also a demon blood vulture. However, this demon blood vulture possessed terrifying strength, far greater than the one on the black cutlass. This demon blood vulture gave Xiaochen the vague feeling that it surpassed sovereign personage, appearing somewhat unfathomable. However, this was not surprising. The demon blood vulture was a special ferocious beast in the first place. As long as it absorbed enough demonic nature, its strength could increase infinitely without any special bottlenecks. Of course, this was not the reason why Xiaochen stopped. The main reason was that Xiaochen felt a bloodline connection between the demon blood vulture and the demon blood vulture. The demon blood vulture hiding on your ship is my youngest son. It has a mischievous nature and does not like to live in groups. After disappearing for half a year, it suddenly returned to participate in the sovereign trial. To think that it managed to defeat its older brothers. Its bloodline even mutated, something unprecedented in the history of my demon blood vulture race. However, after it ate my race's holy fruit, it slipped away again, so, that is the case. After understanding the cause and effect, Xiaochen asked, so? I want to see who exactly is the human who caused it to change so much. Xiaochen said indifferently, since you have seen it, then you should know that I do not have any malicious intent toward it. I did not sign a blood contract with it or forcefully tame it. If you want to take it away, I have no objections. However, if you want to attack me, I will not just stand there and wait to be captured. No, no, no. You misunderstand. I want it to stay by your side. I will help you form a blood contract with it. When the blood vulture king heard Xiaochen say that he wanted it to take away its youngest son, it became anxious, saying no 3 times in a row. This reply stunned Xiaochen. He did not know what to say. What kind of father would give his descendant to someone else to sign a blood contract with? Why are you not willing? In that case, I can give you some benefits. What do you want? A demonic Dao cultivation technique? Or a demonic Dao treasure? Or a divine item at the bottom of the sea? Or the essence blood of ferocious beasts? We can discuss it. Seeing Xiaochen remain silent, the blood vulture king thought that Xiaochen was unwilling. Xiaochen's lips twitched involuntarily. Is this fellow's biological son? There's no need, there's no need. Subduing a demon blood vulture with a mutated bloodline would be a great help to me. Xiaochen felt somewhat embarrassed. Giving him a demon blood vulture for free was already a great gain. He was too embarrassed to ask for other treasures. Ha ha ha. Unexpectedly, there is such a good person like you in the human race. In that case, I will let this unfilial son follow you for 100 years. The mysterious blood vulture king in the distance seemed to execute some secret technique. Then, the demon blood vulture in the spirit beast platform cried out miserably. The demon blood vulture in the spirit beast platform released its demonic nature and turned into a beam of red light soaring into the sky. In the next moment, the demon blood vulture quickly descended towards Xiaochen. Then, this beam of red light turned into a ring on Xiaochen's index finger. Ka-xie. Xiaochen vaguely felt an additional appendage to his soul. This attachment was placed on the scarlet ring on his finger. Goodbye. The horrifying demonic clouds in the sky came quickly and left even faster, going far away like the receding tide. What are they doing? They left again. The little monk asked, feeling it was strange as he rubbed his head. Xiaochen looked at the ring on his finger. Then, he looked into the distance and said, they are here to sell their son. Chapter 1835. What? Since the blood vulture king only communicated with Xiaochen, the little monk could not figure out what was going on. What does he mean by selling his son? Xiaochen smiled faintly and did not say anything more. His gaze fell on the scarlet ring on his index finger, and he revealed a playful smile. Finally, Lin Fan had some means to control the blood demon general. As long as he wanted to, he could turn the blood demon general into a ring at any time and lock it in his hand. He could boldly increase the blood demon general's strength without worrying about a backlash. Where's my dad? Just at this moment, a young but aged voice rang out in Xiaochen's mind. That was the demon blood vulture's voice. Previously, he had not signed a blood contract with it, so he could not communicate with it. Now, he could use his thoughts to communicate. This was the first time Xiaochen heard the demon blood vulture's voice, which surprised him. Your dad left. Left? Ha! That scared this old man to death. I thought that old bastard would take me back and lock me up again. Xiaochen's expression immediately turned petrified, not knowing what to say. What's going on? Why can't I move? What's going on? Xiaochen patiently explained what happened earlier to the Blood Vulture King. Damn! That old bastard even sold his own son. Is there any justice in this world? Does he still have a conscience? No. Send me back. Xiaochen entered deep thought. He seemed to understand why the Blood Vulture King was willing to sacrifice himself to give this demon Blood Vulture away. The Blood Vulture King was simply a little demon king. To put it nicely, he was unruly. To put it bluntly, he was a fool. Ignoring the demon Blood Vulture's hooting, Xiaochen asked the little monk, how much longer will it take for us to reach the Transrealm Transportation Formation in the Ash-Gray Sea? The little monk took out the sea chart. After studying it for a while, he replied, it is still far away. When we were sent out from the Myriad Star Mountain, we deviated too much. It will take at least 3 to 4 months. 3 to 4 months? That was acceptable. The Ash-Gray Sea was vast, and the Myriad Star Sea was just a corner. Xiaochen recalled that when he went to the Starlight Sea, it took him 2 months. This time, it would only take him 3 or 4 months to reach the Transrealm Transportation Formation. Furthermore, Xiaochen indeed needed 3 to 4 months to consolidate his strength. Now, it is time to discuss the matter of exchanging the incomplete Mahamaya abstinence violation saber technique with me. The two of them each had an incomplete manual. Only by exchanging it would they be able to maximize their profits. It was beneficial to both of them. The little monk giggled and said, all right, I have been waiting for this moment for a long time. I was just waiting for Big Brother to speak. I have grasped a total of 3 moves of the Mahamaya abstinence violation saber technique, in the mortal realm, 3 life flower, and merciless killing. But so far, I've only focused on 1 move, in the world. It's better not to bite off more than I can chew for a saber technique of this level. You have to choose a move and understand it thoroughly before connecting it with other moves. Then, your progress will be very fast. Xiaochen couldn't agree more. Right now, he was only focusing on severing the mundane, and was in the process of turning simplicity into complexity. This move was broken down into a set of dreamlike mundane world saber techniques. There were a total of 3 moves, creating dreams with the saber, entering dreams with the saber, and using dreams as saber. After thoroughly comprehending this saber technique, he would be able to comprehend breaking the mundane by simplifying it. As for the other moves of the Mahamaya abstinence violation saber technique, he would be able to achieve twice the results with half the effort. However, the prerequisite was that he had sufficient saber manuals. The two exchanged saber manuals and immediately grasped 6 moves of the Mahamaya abstinence violation saber technique. After Yan Chen obtained Xiaochen's saber manual, he said joyfully, I heard from Master that this saber technique has a total of 11 moves. This way, we can find most of them in one go. In the future, we might be able to collect the complete saber technique. If we trace it back to its source, we might be able to practice the foundation of all the martial techniques of my hidden spirit temple, the 3rd move of the Gautama divine palm. Xiaochen found this strange. He asked, could it be that we cannot directly practice the 3rd move of the Gautama divine palm? The little monk shook his head and said, a primogenitor grade cultivation technique is simply very difficult to directly practice. There is only 1 move, and it is as vast as smoke, materializing the many powerful techniques of the hidden spirit temple. You can imagine how difficult it is to directly practice it. The foundation of all the martial techniques in the world is the 3 primogenitor grade cultivation techniques, the Buddhist sect's Gautama divine palm, the Taoist sect's true martial divine sword, and the demonic sect's primal chaos demonic scripture. Even though many cultivation techniques that rival primogenitor-grade cultivation techniques appeared later, they cannot be called primogenitor-grade cultivation techniques, as they are unable to shake off the shadow of the 3 primogenitor-grade cultivation techniques. Feeling confused, Xiaochen asked, in that case, even if we create our own cultivation techniques, we will not be able to shake off the shadow of the 3 primogenitor-grade cultivation techniques. That is natural. Without the 3 primogenitor-grade cultivation techniques, there would be no martial epoch. That is the source. Since you and I are in the martial epoch, we cannot shake off this restriction. This is rather interesting. The little monk truly lives up to being from the central great realm. There are many things that Xiaochen has never heard of before. Then, which of the 3 primogenitor-grade cultivation techniques is the strongest? The little monk quickly replied, without a doubt, the primal chaos demonic scripture is the strongest. Don't ask me why. That is what the ancient books agree on. However, there is no point in thinking so much. The primogenitor-grade cultivation techniques are no longer complete, having vanished in the long river of time. There is no way to make up for them. For example, the Buddhist sect's Gautama divine palm only has 4 palm strikes left. The 4 great Buddhist temples each have 1 palm strike. Only 3 of the true martial divine sword remain in the hands of the 3 Taoist sections. As for the primal chaos demonic scripture, it is even worse off. I heard that it is already completely destroyed, not even a complete move remaining. Think about it. Not a single move of the primal chaos demonic scripture remains, but the entire demonic Tao is already boundlessly strong. If someone grasps every move and reorganizes the demonic Tao, the world will experience a great calamity. Hence, there is no doubt that the primal chaos demonic scripture is the strongest. A thought occurred to Xiaochen. Could it be that the loss of the demonic Tao's primogenitor grade cultivation techniques caused the demonic Tao to deviate from its original meaning? The little monk continued smiling. Hee hee. As long as we find the remaining 5 moves of the Mahamaya abstinence violation saber technique, we can learn the Gautama divine palm and move unhindered in the great 1,000 realms. Ha ha ha. The little monk fell into some sort of fantasy, a boundless fantasy. Xiaochen asked, has anyone collected all of them? This. I don't think so. Has anyone practiced the complete Mahamaya abstinence violation saber technique? The little monk scratched his head. It seems like aside from the creator, no one has succeeded. Did he rely on the Mahamaya abstinence violation saber technique to practice the Gautama divine palm? I don't think so. The creator of this saber technique has always been a taboo in the Buddhist sections. There are no records of when the saber technique was formed. Once it was formed, it suffered many setbacks. It was lost several times, and it is now completely lost. I have never heard of anyone restoring it. Xiaochen smiled and said, hence, it is not realistic to rely on this to practice the Gautama divine palm. It is more reliable to directly cultivate and comprehend it. Even if one cannot successfully cultivate it, one can rely on the Gautama divine palm to comprehend a cultivation technique or martial technique that suits one. This blow dealt the little monk a heavy blow. He stopped thinking. Then, he took the incomplete manual that Xiaochen wrote for him and went back to study it. Like the little monk, Xiaochen returned to the cultivation room and started studying it. Although he would not immediately start cultivating it, he still needed to read it. He would more or less gain some comprehensions. In the mortal realm, 3 life flower, kill without mercy. As Xiaochen read, he felt the Mahamaya abstinence violation saber technique's vastness and heaviness. He felt somewhat curious. What kind of genius was the creator of this saber technique? However, Xiaochen had too many things to do now. He did not have time to think too much or spend too much time thinking about it. He needed to consolidate his cultivation. It was time to cultivate some of the cultivation techniques that were previously restricted by his cultivation realm after breaking through to the Cloud Sea realm. First was the Ice Feather Divine Incantation. This ice-attributed medial-grade earth-ranked cultivation technique could already be cultivated to a higher level. The Ice Feather Divine Incantation had a total of 6 layers. Xiaochen, who already cultivated the 3rd layer, prepared to cultivate it to peak consummation of the 6th layer in one go. He wanted to see if he could merge the 6 layers and cultivate it to the hidden 7th layer. However, since this was a medial-grade earth-ranked cultivation technique without any restrictions, it was best to cultivate it to consummation as soon as possible. Xiaochen took out spirit jades and placed them in the spirit gathering formation under the prayer mat. Then, he started cultivating. 3 days later, Xiaochen successfully broke through and cultivated the Ice Feather Divine Incantation to the 4th layer. After another 7 days, Xiaochen successfully cultivated the 5th layer without any difficulty. He discovered that his physical body could cultivate the Ice Feather Divine Incantation rather quickly. However, he exhausted a lot of resources. In less than half a month, he had exhausted 1 million medial-grade spirit jades. The 6th layer took longer. He spent half a month before he managed to open all his meridians. Whoosh! After successfully cultivating the Ice Feather Divine Incantation's 6th layer and completing a major cycle, Xiaochen opened his eyes. He slowly spat out a mouthful of turbid qi. His black hair had already turned white. Vaguely, Xiaochen felt that the additional ice-attributed energy in his body had a good suppressive effect on his demonic nature. No matter what, he could maintain a clear mind, like ancient ice, unaffected by the various negative emotions. When Xiaochen looked into the average-sized cultivation room, he saw a chill. Crystalline ice feathers drifted down like snowflakes. It looks like this Ice Feather Divine Incantation has some tricks up its sleeve. It is not as simple as I thought. Xiaochen muttered to himself. He did not say anything more, preparing to give it a try before continuing his closed-door cultivation. He wanted to merge the 6 into one and break through to the Ice Feather Divine Incantation's hidden 7th layer. That would be of great help to his comprehension of the Ice Tao. Half a month later, the little monk, who was playing with the demon blood vulture on the deck, suddenly felt a horrifying chill. His expression changed slightly, and he quickly soared into the air. The demon blood vulture, which was too slow, was very unlucky. Before it could react, the cold qi struck it. In an instant, the entire black cutlass and the demon blood vulture were sealed in ice, turning into ice sculptures floating on the surface of the sea. What a strong will of ice! Big Brother's improvement during this period is somewhat terrifying. The little monk in the air felt flabbergasted. Personally witnessing Xiaochen's rapid improvement in the ice-attributed energy was indeed shocking. Whoosh! A figure charged out of the ship. This figure had white hair, white robes, and white robes. It was Xiaochen. Congratulations, Big Brother. You are one step closer to grasping the Ice Tao, the little monk said with a smile. Xiaochen shook his head and said, although I have cultivated the Ice Feather Divine Incantation's hidden 7th layer, I am still far from the Ice Tao. However, my improvement during this period is real. How about we exchange a few moves? Fighting spirit flashed in the little monk's eyes. He smiled and said, that is exactly what I was thinking. The two instantly exchanged moves. However, they forgot about the demon blood vulture, which was still sealed in ice. Chapter 1836. On the surface of the sea, the rumbling sound did not stop. Xiaochen and the little monk exchanged blows quickly. Both of them did not draw their sabers and only fought with their fists and feet. They fought back and forth, competing with each other. It was obvious that the little monk was holding back. He did not use the movement technique that he was proud of or the horrifying might of the way. He felt that since he could even kill holy venerates, he should not need to use his full power to deal with his big brother. But thinking like that caused him to suffer greatly. Xiaochen raised his hand and waved. A chill filled the air, and ice feathers fluttered in the air like snowflakes. The surrounding temperature plummeted. Even the surface of the sea was covered in a layer of cold air. At first, the little monk did not pay much attention to it. However, he soon discovered that the chill in his body was growing stronger and stronger. Even his blood felt like it was going to freeze. His speed suddenly decreased by a lot. Xiaochen smiled faintly and said, "Little Yan Chen, this Ice Feather Divine Incantation's 7th level is not that simple. The chill may seem harmless, but in reality, it is accumulating at every moment. It is not easy to expel." As soon as he finished speaking, Xiaochen closed in on him step by step. The little monk fought head-on. However, Xiaochen forced him back step by step. After a while, he was horrified to discover that the cold qi in his body actually turned into ice crystals, solidifying into something solid. They looked crystalline, translucent, and beautiful. However, they were like ice spikes that constantly hurt him. Great Diamond Fist. The little monk roared angrily. He activated the true essence in his body, and for the first time, his Buddhist might burst out completely. Boom! As he punched out, his entire body shone with golden light, and all the ice crystals in his body were shaken out. The surface of the sea surged, and a huge wave surged towards Xiaochen like the roar of a tsunami. Xiaochen smiled faintly. He had finally used his full strength. Swinging his palm left and right, he stirred up the chill around him. Then, he unhurriedly sent out a palm strike. The ice quintessence in Xiaochen's body surged out. Boom! The surging wave that contained the rage of the Buddhist sect's guardian deities shattered under Xiaochen's palm strike. The seawater instantly solidified into ice. "Big brother, looks like I've really underestimated you." As Yan Chen stood on the huge, frozen wave, he looked at Xiaochen. The fighting spirit in his eyes blazed like fire. Xiaochen gently took 3 steps back and stood upright with his hands behind his back. Then, he smiled faintly and said, "Don't forget that your true strength only rivals that of a holy venerate." Back in the stone pillar's space, Yan Chen relied on his movement technique to prevent the many holy venerates from surrounding him. From the beginning to the end, he had been fighting one-on-one. In the end, he had relied on the little devil monk Silver Saber's fame to scare away the group of demonic sect elders. Although his combat prowess was already extremely horrifying, Xiao, one did not overestimate. However, big brother, you are only a peak early-stage star venerate. I don't believe that big brother can last 3 moves against my full power attack. The little monk felt strong confidence. His Tao might appeared, and a silver light soared into the sky. Then, he pointed the Buddhist monk's saber at Xiaochen. Now that Xiaochen was an early-stage star venerate, he wanted to know what his current combat prowess was. Xiaochen's battle hunger soared in his heart. He looked forward to the little monk's next attack. One saber strike. The little monk laughed loudly and spread his arms. A silver light flashed, and the instant his figure vanished, he suddenly appeared in front of Xiaochen. A horrifying saber might instantly burst out. Although Xiaochen had 2 kinds of Dao might supporting him, he still could not block it and ended up at a disadvantage. Clang! Xiaochen's arm trembled. This saber strike forced him to take a few steps back, causing him to lose his footing. Boom! 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 With every step Xiaochen took, huge cracks appeared on the surface of the sea. After 10 steps, the seawater under Xiaochen's feet shattered and surged in all directions. Another saber strike. A silver light flashed, and the little monk tore through the sky like a heavenly eagle. Xiaochen used his consciousness to check but could not catch the little monk's figure. Xiaochen could only sense some blurry trajectories, unable to make an accurate judgment. Dang! Xiaochen only managed to circulate his veritable essence energy and block this saber strike when the little monk suddenly charged to his side. This saber strike directly knocked Xiaochen into the air, nearly knocking the tyrant's saber out of his hand. Interesting. After landing, Xiaochen wiped off the blood at the corner of his lips and revealed a faint smile. Now, he finally understood how sullen the holy venerates who fought the little monk were. Such a strange movement technique's speed was simply terrifying. The explosive Dao might was also very troublesome. The little monk's Dao might was simply too strong. The little monk's understanding of the saber Dao surpassed Xiaochen's. With just the pure saber great Dao, the little monk managed to suppress 2 of Xiaochen's great Dao. One more saber strike. The little monk giggled. Then, he pushed off the ground and sent a final saber strike at Xiaochen. Heavenly Eye. Xiaochen quickly opened his heavenly eye, and his vision immediately became 100 times stronger. He could even see the microscopic particles floating in the air. I see it. I see it. With the help of the heavenly eye, Xiaochen finally captured the little monk's movement trajectory. The little monk's movement trajectory was extremely fast, making it very hard for one's vision to grasp. Xiaochen attacked decisively. He could not guarantee that he could lock onto the little monk in the next moment. Divine Lightning Eye. Suddenly, rapidly spinning purple petals appeared in Xiaochen's heavenly eye. 10 bolts of tribulation lightning instantly gathered from all directions. Then, they gathered above the little monk's head before raining down a thick bolt of tribulation lightning. Electric light flickered, and the little monk's body went flying amid an explosion. This is the moment. Xiaochen shouted coldly. Then, he infused the Thunder Great Tao into the Tyrant Saber, instantly bringing out the Tyrant Saber's full might. The Tyrant Saber in Xiaochen's hand changed shape, and a layer of purple lightning fire spread out on its surface. Boom! When Xiaochen swung his saber, it triggered a bright electric light. The little monk, who just got blasted away, appeared somewhat confused. The saber strike that Xiaochen quickly followed up sent the little monk flying. A wound appeared on his chest as he fell somewhat miserably to the sea. Ha ha ha! Big brother is indeed big brother. I really did not expect this move. After the little monk stood up, his fighting spirit soared as he laughed without end. Xiaochen sheathed his saber and said indifferently, "Let's fight again tomorrow." Don't. Yan Chen immediately vomited blood. He had just suffered a great loss, and now, Xiaochen actually said that he was not going to fight anymore. Naturally, Xiaochen would not continue fighting. He had already seen the little monk's strength, which made him understand his many weaknesses. Coincidentally, Xiaochen thought of several perfect ideas that he needed to digest and comprehend. Furthermore, he should stop while he was ahead. The first time the Heavenly Eye and the Divine Lightning Eye merged, Xiaochen obtained miraculous results. However, that might not be the case if he continued fighting. 3 moves are over. Remember not to boast next time. An existence that could instantly kill a holy venerate was indeed extraordinary. This made Xiaochen feel somewhat troubled. The little monk walked over with his head hanging low. Xiaochen consoled him, "We'll continue tomorrow." "It's a deal, then." Yan Chen immediately perked up. His eyes lit up as he giggled. Youths were indeed driven. However, Xiaochen did not know that he already had a vague idea on how to curb Yan Chen's speed. One day was sufficient to change many things. "Big brother, we seem to have forgotten something." Yan Chen suddenly thought of something. The two arrived at the still ice-sealed black cutlass. Only then did they discover that the pitiful demon blood vulture had already fainted from the cold. Finding it strange, Xiaochen asked, "What's going on?" The little monk scratched his head and said, "I dodged too quickly. When I left, I seemed to have been careless and kicked it. I don't remember it clearly." Xiaochen melted the ice and checked it. Then, he relaxed and said, "It won't die. Take care of it." "There's no need. Master, I'll just stay in the spirit beast platform." Upon hearing that Xiaochen wanted Yan Chen to take care of it, the demon blood vulture dragged its stiff body and stumbled into the spirit beast platform. After spending some time together, the demon blood vulture had no choice but to acknowledge Xiaochen as its master. Then, the demon blood vulture tragically discovered that compared to Xiaochen, staying with the little monk was clearly more unlucky. "Stupid bird! How dare you look down on me? How could the little monk endure this?" He roared ferociously and chased after the demon blood vulture into the spirit beast platform. When Xiaochen saw this scene, he smiled faintly and sighed in his heart. He did not know how long such peaceful days could last. The closer he got to the Transrealm Transportation Formation, the closer Xiaochen got to the Divine Dragon Empire. What kind of changes had happened to the dragon race? Would he be able to meet Ryue? Would his identity as a blue dragon bloodline cause trouble? What were his chances of becoming the Dragon Emperor? Xiao Chen's future was destined to be bumpy. After entering closed-door cultivation for one night, Xiao Chen started to diligently cultivate the Divine Dragon Body Tempering Art. The Divine Dragon Body Tempering Art's first layer cultivated the dragon veins. The second layer cultivated the dragon bones. The third layer cultivated the dragon blood and tempered vital qi. The fourth layer cultivated the dragon wings. After cultivating it to perfection, one could sprout dragon wings on one's back. With a thought, the blue dragon divine wings would spread out. At that time, the little monk's speed would no longer pose any trouble to Xiao Chen. The fourth layer was the Star Venerate Realm. It was much more difficult than the Ice Feather Divine Incantation. Xiao Chen did not think of succeeding in one go. He only wanted to cultivate it to small perfection before arriving at the Trans-Realm Transportation Formation. The sun rose in the east. As promised, Xiao Chen and the little monk fought again. This time, Xiao Chen did not use his heavenly eye or the divine lightning eye. However, the little monk was shocked to discover that when he approached Xiao Chen, his speed slowed uncontrollably. A strange force field surrounded Xiao Chen. It looked gentle but was actually incredibly ferocious. It was like he was stuck in a quagmire. The more he twisted his body, the deeper he sank. The little monk, who came into contact with the Taiji force field for the first time, suffered greatly. After 10 moves, he still could not gain an advantage over Xiao Chen. The little monk took the initiative to give up and return to closed-door cultivation to study how to break Xiao Chen's Taiji force field. The little monk truly lived up to being the reincarnation of a Buddha. On this day, he managed to think of a way to break it. The little monk infused his Buddhist might into the surroundings, forming a similar force field. When he approached, he used his Buddhist might to clash head-on with Xiao Chen's Taiji force field. Although the little monk did not break the Taiji force field the instant they clashed, many openings appeared in the Taiji force field. Seizing this opportunity, the little monk attacked 3 times, successfully sending Xiao Chen flying. Just like that, the two exchanged blows, fighting every day and discussing after the fight. As Xiao Chen continuously perfected the Taiji force field, the little monk did his best to think of various ways to break it. Both of them improved rapidly. This continued until one day, when Xiao Chen suddenly spread out the 30-meter-long blue dragon divine wings on his back and executed thunder dragon steps. After beating up the little monk no longer brought up the matter of challenging Xiao Chen to a fight. Xiao Chen's blue dragon divine wings reached small perfection, and he was only 3 days away from the Trans-Realm Transportation Formation. Chapter 1837. Just as Xiao Chen thought this, a huge wave surged over from the bottom of the sea, carrying a terrifying force. The wave instantly tossed the black cutlass high into the sky. The world spun around. The little monk and Xiao Chen felt their qi and blood surge. Xiao Chen released the arrow, and the bowstring trembled slightly. The demonic hell trembled and crumbled bit by bit, rumbling endlessly. The Black Lotus demonic Buddha statue, which was chanting scriptures with its eyes closed, suddenly opened its eyes and roared ferociously. Then, it ferociously threw a palm strike. "Big brother, what are you thinking about?" However, the mask in his hand did not hold back at all. Everything had a limit. Xiao Chen originally wanted to see how many batches of these boundless evil spirits could come out. Xiao Chen found it somewhat difficult to calm down. He fiddled with the mysterious mask that he obtained from the Scarlet Blood Pirate King's treasure trove, the exquisite white mask that looked like porcelain. The third secret technique was the mask clone. It could create a perfect clone. Even a sovereign personage would not be able to tell the real from the fake. A Buddhist proclamation resounded in the sky, echoing over the vast sea. A Buddha statue appeared in the clouds, sitting on a black lotus throne. Many Buddhist halos appeared behind it, filling the sky with a black Buddhist light, spreading over the vast sea. Xiao Chen looked around. It was like a small world had appeared out of nowhere. There were no signs of illusions at all. layers of Buddhist light layered behind it. A horrifying Buddhist might spread out, appearing boundless. The resentful spirits and evil spirits here were simply the best food for the Yazi beast demon soul. Little monk, help me buy some time. I have a way to destroy him. Before the Buddha became a Buddha, evil spirits came to stop him. The Buddha did not get angry, sad, joyful, or hurt. He touched the ground with his hand and turned the evil spirits into ashes. That's not right. The aura of this ship feels somewhat familiar yet strange. It is very strange. I have never had such a feeling before. Soul tools were known as soul tools. Xiaochen had already experienced the price of failing to use them rashly. Both of them vomited a mouthful of blood, significantly injured. There must be a way to break it. There must be a way to break it. He had collected nearly all the spirit jades that few people cared about in the Scarlet Blood Pirate King's treasure trove. Xiaochen took out the god's shadow bow, and his soul energy poured into the bow like a flood. The number of medial-grade spirit jades in his storage ring was even more horrifying. Xiaochen and the little monk drew their sabers in an instant. Saber lights flew everywhere, and tens of thousands of evil spirits were turned to ashes on the spot. Boom! It was his bad luck that brought such a strong enemy to Xiaochen. However, the Sea of Misery was a vast sea of vengeful spirits and evil spirits. It gathered countless negative emotions, and it was impossible to kill them all. Kill! The two of them were in unbearable pain from the burning, unable to retaliate at all. In the sea of bitterness, they were like evil spirits, causing the resentful spirits in the surroundings to laugh. Amidst the pain, Xiaochen transmitted his voice with great difficulty. Yan Chen's thoughts raced as he thought of all sorts of methods. This was a Buddha statue and not the real Black Lotus demonic ancestor. The blue dragon divine wings reached the small success stage. Xiaochen's speed increased by more than 10 times after he unfurled it. Returning to the divine dragon empire was perfectly normal. The little monk's expression changed drastically, and a trace of fear flashed in his eyes. Big brother, this is the demonic world's hell. The Black Lotus demonic ancestor personally created it. To think that someone could summon the Black Lotus demonic ancestor. It must be the Black Lotus sect venerate personally coming. The little monk suddenly appeared beside Xiaochen. When he saw Xiaochen in a daze, he asked softly. Now is the time. Xiaochen slowly discovered that this thought was somewhat naive. There were still 3 more days before they arrived at the Transrealm Transportation Formation. The little monk Yan Chen's expression changed slightly, revealing a confused expression. A fierce flame blazed in the two's hearts, burning them to the point of pain, causing them to wail in anguish. However, during this period, the little monk had been in closed-door cultivation, thinking about how to defeat Xiaochen again. Xiaochen found this strange, but he did not overthink it. Perhaps the scriptures on the mask were just random additions. More importantly, after the divine dragon war body spread out its wings, it reached a mental state. The piercing Buddhist light forced the Black Lotus demonic ancestor to close his eyes, not daring to look directly at it. Some ancient scriptures were carved on the mask. The two fought to the point of exhaustion on the ship, sinking into an endless massacre. Xiaochen glanced at it and did not care. There are ships coming and going on the ash-gray sea. This is not strange. A huge black palm rushed over on the vast sea, looking like it wanted to crush both the two and the ship. Xiaochen carefully sensed that the mask covered up all of his aura. This included all of his vital signs, allowing all sorts of information to enter his mind. Now, Xiaochen understood that the various incredible functions of the mask were exceptionally miraculous. The Black Lotus demonic ancestor's strength actually more than doubled in an instant. No matter how many came, there was no need to fear. The Black Lotus demonic ancestor's gaze locked on Xiaochen and the little monk. With just one look, the two's sins started burning. This mask was called the Death God Mask. It had 3 secret techniques. The first secret technique was Void Shadow. It allowed the wielder's physical body to immaterialize once a day, blocking all attacks. The wielder's martial techniques would be useless. Xiao Chen, who was preparing to go down, entered deep thought when he heard that. Then, he stopped. Without even thinking, he formed a hand seal with his right hand and touched the ground with his left. However, he found it hard to calm down. Xiao Chen kept having a bad feeling in his heart that he could not get rid of. The mask was different from other soul tools. It was not an offensive mask. One did not need to be strong to wield this mask. All the aggrieved spirits and malicious spirits were instantly extinguished. Burning karmic flame. The little monk blamed himself in his heart. It's me again. I harmed Big Brother again. Black Lotus demonic ancestor. The little monk made up his mind. He did not hesitate to glare at the Black Lotus demonic ancestor. Your sins are boundless, and you are not sincere in your devotion to Buddha. Only the Black Lotus Buddha can pardon you ignorant, filthy people. The cultivators who died at the hands of the two were vaguely visible in the fire, turning into aggrieved spirits and laughing malevolently in the surroundings. With a thought, the great desolate Ian ferocious beast, the Yazi beast demon soul, appeared in the black cutlass. It opened its mouth and sucked in the countless aggrieved spirits and malicious spirits. The little monk smiled in shock. That can't be. Big Brother always looks calm and collected, unfazed in the face of danger, giving others the feeling that he is unfathomable. Do you also have moments of confusion? The amount of sin on the little monk's body was far greater than Xiao Chen's. At this moment, his sin was burning, and he was in even more pain than Xiao Chen. Standing in the sea of bitterness, Xiao Chen looked at the Black Lotus demonic ancestor. He truly did not know how to face the enemy. Unfortunately, the scripture was written in an ancient language of Buddhism, which Xiao Chen did not understand. In addition to the 3 secret techniques, the mask also had many auxiliary functions, such as immunity to illusions and mental attacks, waiting for Xiao Chen to slowly explore them. His cultivation was stable, and he could break through to middle stage star venerate at any time. His combat prowess rivaled that of a holy venerate. Xiao Chen held many soul tools, a mutated fruit for improving his bloodline, and a beast core for strengthening his demonic pet. As the chanting sped up, the horrifying Buddhist might grew stronger. Even Xiao Chen and the little monk found it hard to endure. No matter how one looked at it, Xiao Chen now possessed the capital to head to the Divine Dragon Empire. However, he still found it hard to calm his heart. When Xiao Chen's left hand touched the sea of bitterness, he extinguished the karmic flames covering his body, and a golden swastika appeared on his chest. A resplendent and dazzling Buddhist light burst forth from his body, instantly illuminating this dark space. Demon subduing ground imprint. With a thought, the karmic flames descended. The scene around them changed. Xiao Chen and the little monk felt like they were in hell, surrounded by layers of illusions. The black cutlass charged at the huge palm. The countless malicious spirits in the sea of bitterness suddenly showed ferocious expressions as they pounced at the two from all directions. The little monk suffered from this. Buzz. I'll do my best. As I heard, the dead are already dead. Why bother about the mundane world? There are many things in the mundane world, the past, however, reality did not give the two a chance to catch their breath. The little monk said quickly. A look of despair flashed in his eyes. He had not expected that he would meet such a terrifying enemy. Death God Mask? Is there such a thing as a death god in Buddhism? Compared to the god Shadow Bao and the Cheongqi Beast Ghost Pennant, this was simply inconceivable. The black cutlass was from the abandoned land's Blue Dragon clan. Returning to the dragon race was like returning a dragon to its homeland. As the black cutlass flapped its wings, his bloodline surged. He could feel the surging power and ancient dragon might of the blue dragon bloodline. All the filth of the world cannot live forever. The Black Lotus demonic ancestor hovering in the air seemed to be separated from Xiao Chen by a boundless distance. He was right before Xiao Chen but also far away, unable to attack. As the scriptures purified the formless Yazi beast demon soul, the scarlet light on its body slowly separated. Xiao Chen said indifferently, "It's not that I'm confused. I'm just feeling somewhat rueful. When the advantage of a great desolate Aeon bloodline reached a certain cultivation realm, cultivators without a bloodline would be at a disadvantage. Amid a loud sound, the black cutlass broke through that huge black demonic hand like a sharp knife. After putting away the mask, Xiaochen went to the lookout. He looked at the vast ash-gray sea and looked into the distance, letting his thoughts wander. Xiaochen somersaulted and landed on the deck. Then, he stomped heavily on the deck, and a scarlet mist gathered on the ship. Xiaochen allowed his heart to roam the boundless sea. The sea of bitterness is boundless. Repent and the shore is at hand. Xiaochen said honestly, I feel anticipation and nervousness in the Divine Dragon Empire. It is somewhat complicated. I don't know what I'm thinking, either. Xiaochen and the little monk's figures flashed wildly. The shock waves could not avoid knocking them back. At this moment, the sea for 5,000 kilometers around turned into a sea of bitterness filled with vengeful spirits and hungry ghosts. When Xiaochen put the mask on his face, he instantly felt like the mask had merged with his flesh and blood like a piece of human skin. Just at this moment, the Black Lotus demonic ancestor in the sky suddenly chanted scriptures to purify the Yazi beast demon soul. The second secret technique was the Grim Reaper scimitar. It could summon the mysterious Grim Reaper in the mask to attack, turning his will of soul into the Grim Reaper scimitar. Xiaochen's body ached, but his heart ached even more. The Black Lotus demonic ancestor sat cross-legged on the lotus platform, looking at the two coldly without any expression on his face. Xiaochen knocked an arrow, and the heart flame merged with the arrow. Then, he slowly pulled the bowstring back. With the help of the god's shadow bow, the Black Lotus demonic ancestor, who felt boundless, instantly locked onto him. Yan Chen looked into the distance and said with a frown, it seems like a ship is heading towards us. Perhaps I should ask the little monk for guidance. Could it be the Black Lotus Church? Whoosh. I have to think of a way. No matter what, Big Brother cannot die here. The gigantic Yazi beast demon soul shattered on the spot. In that instant, all the vengeful spirits and malicious spirits that the Yazi beast demon soul swallowed earlier turned into scarlet light and soared into the sky. Familiar yet strange? In that instant, Xiaochen's crystalline heart of 7 apertures, devoid of any filth, burst forth with a pure Buddhist light. Compared to before, it was a completely different matter. Boom. Chapter 1838. It was just some peak major primal core cultivators. Even if he had less than half of his strength, he would still be able to deal with them easily. Master, your body. Xiaochen thought to himself. Although he was severely injured and could bring out less than half of his strength, he did not fear anyone on this demonic ship. However, he did not fear anyone on this demonic ship. Xiaochen, my master is coming personally. Do you think you still have a chance to flee? The Holy Sun Ming Xian prepared to attack again. However, the Black Lotus sect venerate said indifferently, let him come. The Black Lotus sect venerate had a special Black Lotus mark on them that could dodge the Black Lotus sect venerate's attack. Little monk. The Holy Sun Ming Xian stepped forward from the bow of the ship and appeared before Xiaochen. Whoosh. Die. Now, he was even more injured, his survival unknown. A gloomy look flashed in the Black Lotus sect venerate's deep, black eyes. The Black Lotus sect venerate formed 9 hand seals in an instant. Each hand seal turned into a different demonic Buddha image that appeared before Xiaochen. The demonic bone relic was left behind by the sacred ancestor when he passed away. Why would it appear on him? The Black Lotus sect venerate no longer had many trump cards to use. The Buddhist light continuously extended forward. In a few breaths, it would catch up to Xiaochen's black cutlass. All the outstanding talents and older generation heroes of the Kunlun realm died in the demonic calamity. Damn it. It's fine. It is just life and death. Master has already seen through it. As long as we obtain the demonic bone relic, my Black Lotus Church can rise again at any time. Xiaochen looked into the distance and saw the Black Lotus Church's banner at the bow of the ship. He could even vaguely make out some figures standing at the bow. To think that a peak major primal core cultivator could not even block a palm strike from him. Surprise flashed in Xiao Chen's eyes. He recalled that he had clearly killed this fellow in the fiendish demon battlefield. The first one held a demonic trident, had 2 legs, and had only 1 eye. Pooh! With a wave of his hand, Xiao Chen threw a palm strike. Primal chaos, veritable essence energy surged out. The first thing the little monk said when he opened his eyes was to ask if the trouble had been dealt with. The little monk, who had fallen on the surface of the sea, was very weak. On the deck, Xiao Chen was fighting with the 4 Vajra protectors. He was covered in wounds, and his aura was weak. He could not unleash his full strength. Set the formation. The bowstring vibrated, and space collapsed. However, the 4 guardian deities were not injured at all. They landed firmly on the surface of the sea. Master. A soul tool was on a completely different level from an inherited Dao tool. Black Lotus Church. On the throne, the Black Lotus sect venerate Xiao Chen remained expressionless, not surprised at all. I already said long ago that the best opportunity to kill him would be when he first arrived in the Great Thousand Realms. Once you miss it, the longer it takes, the more troublesome it will be. In the short span of 2 years, Xiao Chen had actually grown to such a terrifying level. The little monk who executed the touching demon subduing imprint burst out with a Buddhist light that did not belong to his realm and cultivation. Xiao Chen locked his gaze on the Black Lotus sect venerate, who sat on the throne. Then, he snorted coldly and quickly charged over. Worry appeared on the Black Lotus sect venerate's face. The other guardian deities and the black-clad Arhat all showed anxious expressions. This disciple has failed. The cold mask obscured Xiao Chen's expression. Only his eyes shone with a terrifying golden light as he looked at the surroundings. When the vertical eye opened, a demonic light shot towards Xiao Chen. The strong palm wind swept through the deck like a hot knife through butter. The black-clad Arhat immediately shattered all the bones in his body, unable to put up any combat prowess. Master, the karmic flame had already extinguished. However, the injuries inflicted would not recover in a short time. Stubbornness flashed in the Black Lotus sect venerate's eyes. It seemed like flames flashed in his pitch-black eyes. Even this Black Lotus sect venerate was much weaker than the Black Lotus demonic ancestor of the demonic world. Xiao Chen turned his head back to look. When he saw this scene, his expression changed slightly. He looked around and saw that he had already returned to the ash-gray sea. The activation of his great desolate Aeon bloodline had a limit. After the limit, his injuries would worsen. Good timing. Damn it. I'm about to die, and you still ask this? In that instant, the Black Lotus sect venerate unleashed the might of a sovereign descending upon the world. A terrifying Buddhist seal instantly surged out, and the black cutlass exploded into pieces. However, at this moment, it was not worth mentioning to Xiao Chen. It's you. Kill. The expression of the Holy Sun Ming Xian, who was beside the Black Lotus sect venerate, changed slightly. Incredulity appeared in his eyes. However, the Holy Sun Ming Xian only had 3 seconds. He had to kill this Black Lotus sect venerate in 3 seconds. Purple flames burned on the tyrant saber. When Xiao Chen swung his saber and thrust, the one-eyed demonic figure instantly exploded. It's not your fault. This time, no matter what, he will not be able to escape. The Holy Sun Ming Xian still remembered that these black-clad Arhats were all boundlessly strong back in Purple Sun City. The Holy Sun Ming Xian felt ashamed as he quickly lowered his head. With injuries piling on top of injuries, he would fall on his own before the Black Lotus sect venerate even made a move. Without a sound, the terrifying Black Lotus demonic ancestor exploded into countless pieces, turning into black lotuses that floated in the air. The Black Lotus demonic ancestor nearly shattered the Yazi beast demon's soul with a palm strike, and the ship suffered damage in many places. Xiao Chen clenched his teeth, hatred burning in his heart. He did not hold back and fully activated his blue dragon bloodline. The Holy Sun Ming Xian frowned slightly and stepped forward, wanting to make a move. The divine concealment arrow had already entered the Black Lotus evil ancestor's body and exploded instantly. The Black Lotus sect venerate's eyes were as pitch black as ink. He gave off a terrifying aura, but he was extremely weak, looking like he would be blown away by the wind at any moment. Moreover, he was extremely weak, much weaker than Xiaochen himself. However, he didn't have any time to waste. Once the effect of the bloodline power wore off, he would be killed. As Xiaochen looked at the Black Lotus sect venerate on the throne, old and new grudges surged forth. Boundless murderous intent flared in his eyes. He looked around and found the little monk floating on the surface of the sea. The little monk had already fainted. Boom! Xiaochen remained calm and unperturbed. When Xiaochen looked around, he saw a black ship blocking the way to the Transrealm Transportation Formation. However, Xiaochen could not wait any longer. When he saw a rather large crack, he carried the little monk and leaped out. Xiaochen could place all the blame on Xiaochen. The rebound from the god's shadow bow reverberated in Xiaochen's body, causing him endless pain. What was even more unbearable was that he had drained most of his soul energy, making him look incredibly weak. Xiaochen unleashed a peak strike with his weakened body. The four great guardian deities before him were not worth mentioning at all. Sect Venerate. The moment the two leaped out, a wave came crashing over from the surface of the sea, crashing into them. The Holy Sun Ming Xian led the way. A faint white Buddhist light spread out from his body, making him stand out among the black Buddhist lights. The Holy Sun Ming Xian took the risk of drawing the god's shadow bow, draining his soul energy. The god's shadow bow rebounded, injuring his physical body again. 7 Kill Seal, resolving the mundane, die. After putting down the little monk, Xiaochen could not be bothered to repair the ship. He turned the ship around and quickly fled far away. Now, Xiaochen actually appeared alive again. Capture him. The four great guardian deities and 100 black-clad arhats soared into the air and charged towards the black cutlass. The Holy Sun Ming Xian asked worriedly. To think that he can break through the demonic world's hell. After him. We must catch up to him. This is the last chance to capture him. Otherwise, there will never be another chance. Black Lotus Sect Venerate. After the many black-clad arhats boarded the ship, they immediately launched themselves at Xiaochen. I can't escape. However, the Black Lotus Sect Venerate pulled him back. That ship is somewhat strange. The ship moved amid the treasure light, completely ignoring the influence of the ash-gray sea's huge gravity. It moved like a beam of light, moving quickly. Xiaochen turned around and protected the little monk, using his back to block the heavy strike of this wave. In the time it took for a spark to fly, Xiaochen took out the death god mask and wore it. When the demonic light shot over, a ripple-like black light appeared on the mask and dissipated it. Right after the Black Lotus Sect Venerate spoke, he suddenly made a move. He lowered his right hand and stuck his thumb and middle finger together, forming a miraculous hand seal. As the Black Lotus Sect Venerate chanted scriptures, a beam of Buddhist light suddenly descended from the sky, illuminating a treasure path in front of the ship. After the god Shadow Bow fired the arrow, Xiaochen ignored his weakness and immediately leaped towards the little monk. After all, the weakest of the four guardian deities was a peak early-stage star venerate. The strongest guardian deity was a late-stage star venerate. Guardian deities, black-clad arhats, bring him over. Oh no! Quickly attack! In the demonic world's hell, that horrifying Black Lotus demonic ancestor used karmic flames to burn Xiaochen to death. Xiaochen blamed himself as he looked around. The demonic world's hell was crumbling bit by bit. Everything was fated to gather on this person. However, every Black Lotus had a layer of heart flame that could not be dispelled, preventing them from reassembling. Xiaochen swung his saber, appearing eternal and inextinguishable. In one breath, he killed the four guardian deities. A golden light flickered in Xiaochen's eyes, and his declining aura instantly soared to the limit. However, even when the four guardian deities worked together, they were at a disadvantage from the start to the end, completely suppressed by Xiaochen. The thousands of black lotuses continuously gathered, trying to reassemble the Buddha image. Pu Ci. The sudden killing move caught Xiaochen off guard, sending him flying. Big brother, is the demonic ancestor destroyed? Xiaochen was just about to get up anxiously when the four guardian deities appeared and surrounded him again. The expressions of the four guardian deities changed drastically. They quickly charged at Xiaochen, not holding back their killing moves at all. Pu Ci. Pu Ci. Xiaochen vomited a few mouthfuls of blood on the surface of the sea. Only the skeleton of the black cutlass remained. With a wave of his hand, Xiaochen collected it into his storage ring. Xiaochen's figure flickered on the surface of the sea. Then, he leaped and landed on the dilapidated black cutlass. When he formed a hand seal, he slowly pushed it forward. That is, wearing the death god mask, Xiaochen activated the tyrant saber's full might and broke through the 9 demonic images before landing on the ship. With just a slight pull of the bowstring, Xiaochen shattered the Black Lotus demonic ancestor's Buddha image. Pu Ci. Xiaochen vomited a mouthful of blood as he tumbled a few times in the air. On the Black Lotus Church's ship, a withered old man on a lotus throne held a cracked Black Lotus demonic ancestor sculpture and vomited a mouthful of blood. The Black Lotus Church's sect venerate revealed a strange smile on his throne as if he had seen through all of Xiaochen's trump cards. Doubt flashed in the holy Sun Ming Xian's eyes, but he did not ask. There were many things that his master would not say. Even if he asked, it would be pointless. Blood flowed on the saber's tip and slowly dripped down. A terrifying demonic nature flickered in Xiaochen's golden eyes. Then, the fragments turned into a blood mist spreading in the air. The blood mist could only scatter in the surroundings, slowly being consumed by the heart flame. Right now, the little monk's fate was unknown. If something happened to him, he would blame himself for life. Chapter 1839. 3. One of the Death God Mask's secret techniques, Void Shadow, appeared. The attack that the Holy Sun Ming Xian had been preparing for a long time struck the immaterialized Xiaochen's body with terrifying demonic might. The Holy Sun Ming Xian revealed a horrified expression as he passed through Xiaochen's body. This peak strike did not stop Xiaochen for even a moment. The Black Lotus sect venerate's smile did not fade as he continued to look at Xiaochen coldly. He did not make a move, nor did his expression change. 2. One of the Death God Mask's secret techniques, Mask Clone, appeared. A masked clone appeared in the air. When the secret technique was executed, Xiaochen felt like his body split in two. No matter which one was destroyed, the other one would retain its strength and consciousness and continue living. Xiaochen finally understood why sovereign personages could not distinguish the real from the fake. It was because both were real. 2 seconds passed. After passing through Ming Xian's obstruction, Xiaochen was only 100 meters from the Black Lotus sect venerate on the throne. Xiaochen locked onto Xiaochen's aura, drove his veritable essence energy, and layered his great Tao energy. His dragon might soared to its peak. Xiaochen waited for the final second to arrive. Under the mask, Xiaochen showed a grave expression, revealing a pair of great desolate divine eyes. However, there was only a cold murderous intent and a strange demonic nature, nothing else. How long could 1 second be? 1 breath, 1 blink. The moment one raised one's head, the moment one took a step, the moment one opened one's mouth, the moment one thought, 1 second passed by. However, in the eyes of experts, 1 second was enough to do many things. One could soar into the air and flee far away. One could swing 100 times. One could kill countless people. One could think of many things. One could do many, many things. The Black Lotus sect venerate only did one thing. He stood up from the throne. Some people stood up because they were tired. Some people stood up because they wanted to leave. Some people were simply restless. However, some people stood up for only one reason: they wanted to fight. Boom! Just as the Black Lotus sect venerate stood up again, a strong battle hunger surged out of his body and soared into the clouds. Then, it turned into a fierce flame that burned half the sky. The clouds were burning, and flames filled the sky. This battle intent was pure and simple, domineering and direct, and it caused the entire space to be locked down. The two clones were forced to a halt in front of him. Xiao Chen's thoughts froze. He couldn't move, he couldn't speak, and he couldn't think. The Black Lotus sect venerate slowly stretched out his hand. However, just as he was about to touch Xiao Chen, his hand slowly approached Xiao Chen. However, just as the Black Lotus sect venerate was about to touch Xiao Chen, the lower half of his body suddenly ignited. His hand stopped before Xiao Chen's forehead forever. The Black Lotus sect venerate revealed a bitter smile as he said softly, "In my life, I have fought sovereign emperors, sovereign personages, and killed countless holy venerates. However, I have never fought a star venerate before. You should be proud. Master." When the holy son Ming Xian saw this scene, he cried out hoarsely in pain. He quickly ran over, wanting to grab the Black Lotus sect venerate's hand. However, before the Black Lotus sect venerate could touch the remnant warmth in his hand, he turned into ashes. Then, he silently glanced at Ming Xian. The Black Lotus sect venerate's gaze was filled with anticipation and love. However, he could not continue looking. He only glanced at the Black Lotus sect venerate, who once moved unhindered, able to escape unscathed under the suppression of the 4 Buddhist temples. The Black Lotus sect venerate vanished from this world forever. Only the blazing fire that burned half the sky proved the Black Lotus sect venerate's glory and past. Whoosh! The two clones landed on the ground and merged back into one. The great desolate Ian bloodline ended, and Xiao Chen vomited a mouthful of blood. Injuries piled on top of injuries, Xiao Chen weakly fell to the ground. He did not know whether he won or lost. The holy son Ming Xian knelt on the ground and silently chanted scriptures. His spotless, untainted body gave off an incredibly pure Buddhist nature. Xiao Chen held a stalk of sword monarch grass in his hand. If he attacked at this moment, the sword monarch grasses might would not allow him to escape. With the sword monarch grasses might, the holy son Ming Xian would definitely die. In the end, Xiao Chen did not make a move. Then, he slowly stood up and left this place, landing on the surface of the sea. When Xiao Chen looked around, the surroundings were a mess. The corpses of the Black Lotus Church's protectors and arhats floated on the surface of the sea. Their blood mixed with the seawater, forming a pungent smell. That smell was tragic and stirring. The Black Lotus sect was a declining sect, a faction that once stood on equal footing with the 4 Buddhist sections. Now, only 4-star venerates and more than 100 major primal core venerates remained. Then, they all died here. That person fought his entire life and died standing. Yi Zifeng's senior brother had said clearly not to make a move for 10 years. That person had staked everything on one throw and ended up in such a state. The blazing flame in the sky continued to roar. The waves surged and roared endlessly. The holy son Ming Xian piously chanted scriptures, and Buddhist sounds drifted out. The blazing flame was the Black Lotus holy venerate's laughter after he broke free. The waves were the cries of the souls of the sect's heroes. The Buddhist sounds were blessings and prayers for the next life. Some people were laughing, some people were crying, and some people were chanting scriptures. Xiao Chen ignored them. He slowly walked towards the little monk's body in the seawater. Xiao Chen's weak body swayed as he held the tyrant's saber. His footsteps were slow as if he would drown in the huge waves at any moment. However, even though this heart had been hurt by parting, it did not fear death. Wearing white robes and holding a saber, he would let the wind and waves surge through this life. When a cold wind blew, Xiao Chen's thin body felt somewhat cold. When he looked up, sunlight shone down, welcoming his footsteps. Xiao Chen glanced back and saw that the wind had stopped and the waves were gone. The bodies of the Black Lotus Church members floated quietly on the desolate sea. The blazing flame in the sky extinguished. On the ship, the white-robed Holy Sun Ming Xian looked coldly at Xiao Chen. New grudges and old grudges would be settled today. However, Xiao Chen did not feel any joy or sorrow at this moment. He only glanced at the person at the bow of the ship before silently turning around. Xiao Chen raised his leg and did his best to leap up. Then, he landed beside the little monk and picked him up. The scarlet ring on Xiao Chen's finger turned into a flash of red light. The demon blood vulture carried the two over the ship, continuing towards the transrealm transportation formation. Xiao Chen held the little monk's right hand and checked his pulse. His aura was weak, and his life force was indistinct. The little monk's life force was slowly fading. The demon subduing ground-touching imprint was a horrifying Buddhist sect secret technique. It was the strongest seal that the Gautama Buddha left behind before he became a Buddha. Only the abbot or holy monk of the 4 great Buddhist temples could use it. Xiao Chen did not know where the little monk found the courage to execute it. Furthermore, he succeeded in doing so. However, the little monk had not expected that the price was not something that an insignificant novice monk could bear. The little monk also forgot that his physical body was already extremely weak from the torment of the karmic flames. The sins on the little monk's body were even more terrifying than Xiao Chen's. Holding the Buddhist sect's monk saber, he was destined to spend his life living in sin. Xiao Chen showed a helpless expression as he took out the mutated fruit that he obtained from the stone pillar with the divine flame. Originally, he had been saving it for when he went to the Divine Dragon Empire. Now, he had no choice but to use it. I really owe you in my previous life. After opening the little monk's mouth, Xiao Chen muttered and fed the little monk this strong and mysterious mutated fruit. The instant the mutated fruit entered the little monk's body, his blood immediately surged. The originally weak signs of life became like that of a ferocious beast. The little monk's pale complexion also turned red. The better the effects, the more heartache Xiao Chen felt. Originally, he should have consumed it. However, it did not matter. It was sufficient as long as he could survive this tribulation. It was good that he was alive. Only by being alive would there be hope, only then could he have everything. When Xiao Chen looked back, the flames in the sky had already completely vanished. The burned clouds gathered once more. The final traces of the Black Lotus sect venerate in the world were gone. However, just at this moment, a Buddhist might surged out from that direction and soared into the clouds. Countless black lotuses descended from the sky, and Buddhist chanting spread in all directions. Even when it reached Xiao Chen, he could still hear it lingering. After a moment of comprehension, he became insufferably arrogant. Xiao Chen knew that the Black Lotus sect venerate was already dead. However, he now had an enemy even more terrifying than the Black Lotus sect venerate. Xiao Chen also understood why the Black Lotus sect venerate looked at the Holy Sun Ming Xian in the end. More importantly, the Black Lotus sect venerate did not want the Holy Sun Ming Xian to make a move, as Xiao Chen still had means to perish together with the Black Lotus sect venerate. Only by living would there be hope. Chapter 1840. Xiao Chen shifted his gaze to the back. The Black Lotus sect venerate was already dead, leaving only the Holy Sun Ming Xian. However, the doubts in Xiao Chen's heart had not been resolved yet. Why did the Black Lotus sect spend so much effort to capture him? Furthermore, that Black Lotus sect venerate clearly had many old injuries. 1 year ago, Yi Zifeng left him with new injuries, preventing him from fighting for 10 years. However, the Black Lotus sect venerate still forced himself to fight. First, he summoned the Black Lotus demonic ancestor. Then, he destroyed his Black Saber demonic ship. Finally, when the Black Lotus sect venerate was forced to stand up, he exhausted all his life force and would definitely die. Under the suppression of the righteous Tao, the Black Lotus sect, which was like a stray dog, did not hide its strength and bide its time. Instead, it chased after Xiao Chen. Why did the Black Lotus sect spend so much effort and time to lay a trap in the Kunlun realm? Perhaps this mystery would forever remain a secret. However, there was good news. The Black Lotus sect venerate was already dead. In that case, there might not be any more restrictions on the Kunlun Road in the Kunlun realm. It would probably be easier for Xiao Chen to return in the future. Even if his old friends in the Kunlun realm wanted to come out, they would not end up like Senior Xiao did, dying 9 times out of 10. Xiao Chen collected his thoughts and checked the little monk's condition. After Xiao Chen consumed the mutated fruit that he obtained from the stone pillar with the divine flame, his complexion gradually improved. It seemed like he had even undergone some sort of transformation. This little monk seems to be getting more and more inexperienced. Xiao Chen found it strange that the originally inexperienced little monk's eyebrows and eyes had yet to fully open had undergone a startling change. In just a short moment, the little monk's face actually started to grow in the opposite direction. What a strong mutated fruit! It was likely that this was the heavenly treasure that Elder Chai dreamed of using to extend his life. That was not right. It was not extending his life. It was growing in reverse. While it improved his bloodline, it also changed the foundation of his physical body. This was truly astonishing. How unfortunate. If Xiao Chen had consumed it himself, his strength would have improved further. However, it would have been best if the little monk was still alive. Compared to becoming stronger and exchanging for the little monk's life, Xiao Chen was very clear on what was better. Seeing that the little monk was safe, Xiao Chen relaxed and started treating his injuries. The karmic flame burned his sins, injuring the foundation of his physical body. His soul energy was greatly depleted and would be hard to recover in a short time. He closed his eyes and adjusted his breathing. 6 hours passed, and his true essence revolved in a large circle. Xiao Chen's spirit improved slightly. Opening his eyes, Xiao Chen exhaled a mouthful of turbid air. His injuries would probably take some time to recover. The main problem was that the karmic fire had damaged the foundation of his physical body. He was already lucky to be able to survive. Karmic fire was not something that ordinary people could control. It was similar to the faintly discernible objects in myths and legends. Furthermore, it did not have much power against ordinary martial artists. The sins of ordinary people would not be able to ignite their sins. Xiao Chen and the little monk were 2 exceptions. Hey, when did I get a kid? Xiao Chen was shocked to discover a child on the demon blood vulture's back. He looked to be about 6 or 7 years old. He was bald and wore a large monk's robe. After being stunned for a moment, Xiao Chen reacted. It was the little monk, Yan Chen. His fleshly body returned to its childhood. However, the feeling he gave Xiao Chen was that he had become even stronger. Yan Chen's aura was very deep and heavy. This is too heaven-defying. Xiao Chen felt incredibly shocked. Although Xiao Chen did not know what benefits the little monk obtained, just this change alone caused him to regain his youth. Regaining his youth. Even a sovereign personage, no, even a divine Vane Realm sovereign emperor could not do it. If this happened to them, they would wake up laughing even in their dreams. Xiao Chen thought about the Black Lotus sect venerate. If he obtained this mutated fruit, not only would he be able to get rid of all his old ailments, but his physical body and bloodline would also be strengthened. His physical body and bloodline could also be strengthened, and the reversal of his physical body's origin was equivalent to being reborn. Just thinking about it made one tremble in fear. If Xiao Chen auctioned this mutated fruit, he would immediately obtain a divine Vane Realm sovereign emperor, who surpassed sovereign personages, as a helper. The loss was too great. Xiao Chen could not bear it. However, when the sky turned bright, Xiao Chen woke up. After being stunned for a while, he revealed a playful smile. There was no more. The loss was too great, and his heart ached. A tender baby appeared on the demon blood vulture's back. The baby appeared sleepy, with delicate facial features and a shiny bald head. It was as cute as it could be. Fortunately, I did not eat it. Otherwise, I would not know how to face Lu Ryue. This scene was too beautiful. Xiao Chen smiled bitterly and shook his head, not daring to think about it. Xiao Chen checked the little monk's body and noticed that the reverse growth finally stopped. Otherwise, if it continued to grow in the opposite direction, it would be quite troublesome. However, it seemed like the problem was already very big now. How should I explain it to him after I open my eyes? What a headache, boom. Suddenly, the demon blood vulture seemed to be greatly shocked. It shook intensely, nearly flinging Xiao Chen and the little monk off. Damn! Don't scare me. Master, you gave birth? Suddenly, the demon blood vulture's voice rang out in Xiao Chen's mind. It turned out that it wanted to slack off. Xiao Chen closed his eyes and flew for an entire night. As he flew, he fell asleep. When the demon blood vulture opened its eyes, it discovered a baby on its back. It nearly fell off in fright. Xiao Chen's lips twitched involuntarily. He asked coldly, "Could your father have given birth to you?" "How can that be? How could my father have given birth to me?" The demon blood vulture did not even think about it, decisively denying it. Pfft! Xiao Chen could not help laughing. Indeed, it was a silly bird. It turns out that you are not his. No wonder your father sold you to me. That's not right. That's not right. My father gave birth to me. My father gave birth to me personally. When the demon blood vulture heard that, it immediately retorted. This matter concerned the dignity of its bloodline and could not be spoken carelessly. Ha! Xiao Chen smiled but did not say anything. That's still not right. My mother gave birth to me. It has nothing to do with my father. Ha ha ha. Xiao Chen guffawed endlessly. This silly bird was so silly that it was cute. Stop laughing. My father gave birth to me. It has nothing to do with my mother. That's right, right? The demon blood vulture paced around, thoroughly confused. It spoke until it nearly cried. When Xiao Chen saw the situation, he smiled softly and said, "Your father and mother gave birth to you." Right, right, right. That's right. Ha ha ha. This great me is really smart. I figured it out in an instant. When the demon blood vulture heard that, it immediately beamed with joy and roared ferociously. However, Master, you still did not say who gave birth to this baby. Xiao Chen was still thinking about how to explain to the little monk. He felt that this silly bird was incredibly stupid. He said helplessly, "There are only the three of us here. Who do you think I gave birth to?" "Just the three of us." Suddenly, horror filled the demon blood vulture's heart. "Aside from the little monk, there is only me. Could it be that while I was asleep, what are you thinking about?" Xiao Chen heavily patted the demon blood vulture's head. "This is the little monk. He ate a mutated fruit, which is why he became like this." "That's good. That's good." The demon blood vulture heaved a sigh of relief. Then, it suddenly recalled that the little monk had turned into a baby. Then, it started cackling strangely again. "Master, I'll help you take care of him, go to the side." After another day, an island appeared below Xiao Chen's vision. According to the little monk, the transrealm transportation formation was on the island. Given the little monk's condition, Xiao Chen could only send him back to the temple first. Xiao Chen gently pushed off the demon blood vulture's back, turning it into a ring and restraining it on his back. Xiao Chen looked at the baby-like little monk. Then, he stretched out his hand, and a few saber lights shot out. Then, he turned the little monk's originally large monk robes into a small backpack. Then, he hung the other party around his neck. Xiao Chen descended from the clouds and looked down at the island below. Soon, the island appeared in his vision. The city on the island was vast and large. When Xiao Chen probed it, he could sense the auras of many experts. There were many star venerates and holy venerates. He could even vaguely sense the auras of sovereign personages lying dormant. Whoosh! Xiao Chen landed firmly at the city gates of this city. When he looked up, he saw the words, "Withered Leaf City," above the city gates. In that instant, several gazes immediately landed on Xiao Chen. They pointed at him and whispered to each other. "Ha! There are so many strange things these days. To think that he is traveling around with a child. Is he not afraid of the dangers of the world? There are many demonic Tao sects and demonic Tao powerhouses who collect infants to refine ghost penance. This person does not look like a demonic Tao cultivator. Interesting. The people whispering did not have any fear. Shao Chen heard all of it. He did not think too much about it as he headed straight for the city gates. After paying the entrance tax, the leader of the city guards could not help giving Shao Chen another glance. "Sir, please wait a moment." Shao Chen maintained his vigilance. He turned around and asked, "My lord, what's the matter?" The leader smiled amiably and replied, "It's nothing. It's just that I rarely see people bringing children to my withered leaf city. I have one more question. Would you like to leave your name?" Shao Chen smiled faintly and retorted, "If I don't say it, you won't let me in." "That's not necessary." In that case, there was naturally no need to say it. "Goodbye." Shao Chen turned around and left. He entered deep thought. This leader of the city guards was somewhat strange. After Shao Chen went far away, the leader's expression changed slightly. He called someone over and whispered, "Send people to monitor this bladesman at the highest level. Do not alert him and expose him." "Yes." After the subordinate left to carry out the order, the leader left the city gates and rode his horse, heading for the city lord's residence. When the leader arrived at the city lord's residence, he took out his medallion and quickly entered. Along the way, he passed many checkpoints. Finally, he arrived at a heavily guarded pavilion in the city lord's residence. "Please inform City Lord Lu that the leader of the city gates, Bai Feng, has something important to report." Someone passed on Bai Feng's message. After a while, the leader received permission to enter. In an elegant room in the pavilion, a gray-robed old man sat and drank tea. He exuded a dignified might, exuding might without being angry. "Bai Feng, if there is nothing important, you would not have come personally to report." "Speak, what is the news?" The gray-robed old man asked calmly as he put down the teacup with a gloomy expression. Reporting to City Lord, this subordinate just discovered someone suspected to be the white-robed bladesman at the city gates. Bai Feng performed a cupped fist salute and reported respectfully. The eyelids on the gray-robed old man's calm face twitched. "Is it the white-robed bladesman Shao Chen who suppressed the 3 great demonic Tao sects and obtained the Scarlet Blood race's inheritance?" This subordinate does not dare to be sure. He was carrying a baby on his back, which is somewhat different from the rumors. "I only sent people to monitor him carefully and did not act rashly." The gray-robed old man waved his hand and said, "Quickly withdraw them. If it really is that white-robed bladesman, it will be hard for you not to give yourself away." "That's not right. It's already too late." "That's all, then. I will remember your contribution in this matter. Leave the rest to me." "Thank you, City Lord." After Bai Feng withdrew, the gray-robed old man revealed a smile. "Interesting. The entire demonic Tao sects of the Ash Gray Sea are searching for you. To think that you actually came to my place. You are probably here for the Trans-Realm Transportation Formation." Chapter 1841. However, he didn't care too much about it. In his hands, it was only a matter of time before the imprint was dissolved. His joy was indescribable. In the City Lord's mansion, there should be even more powerful existences in seclusion. But right at this moment, something unexpected happened. He looked at Shao Chen and said with a smile, "Young Master Shao is indeed a straightforward person. You are also a smart person. This old man admires your boldness. Even if he knew that he was going to die, he would still fight for it. Otherwise, how unwilling would he be?" It made him feel extremely comfortable, and his entire body felt refreshed. He felt that his strength had instantly increased by quite a bit. The Withered Leaf City Master casually flipped through the demonic cloud heaven swallowing technique, then solemnly closed it and casually put it aside. To be able to confirm his identity so quickly, the Withered Leaf City Lord manner was indeed impressive. In the next moment, thousands of holes appeared on his body, and dazzling sword lights shot out from every hole. Only Bai Feng, Xiao Chen, and himself were left in the room. For a moment, not only was he overjoyed, but he was also incomparably proud of himself. He was the youngest leader of Withered Leaf City and the most trusted subordinate of the city lord. He was in charge of one of the city's 3 main guards, the city guards. This untalented Bai would like to ask young Master Xiao to bestow a treasure to me. Therefore, you still have to give me a supreme treasure to make up for the pressure I've endured and the losses I've suffered. Furthermore, he also vaguely felt that he had gone too far. He felt somewhat guilty for bullying a junior like this. The moment this person appeared, it immediately caused a wave of low exclamations in the inn. With an excited expression, Zhang Xian quickly flipped through the secret manual. The more he read, the more shocked and excited he became. One could clearly sense that the style of this city was completely different from the other cities. After confirming Xiao Chen's location, Xiao Chen immediately brought him over. This was to avoid trouble if the other factions found out about Xiao Chen's whereabouts. Dong dong dong. The demon blood vulture's belly swelled up, and demonic chi surged from its body. It cackled strangely as it continuously refined the Withered Leaf City Lord in its belly. The little monk in the bag had yet to wake up. Xiao Chen did not know why. I bet he's going to suffer. They truly lived up to being supreme treasures left by the Scarlet Blood Pirate King. Every one of them was so mesmerizing. It had to be said that it was a little dreamy, and he was a little ethereal. It was a treasure that no one had managed to obtain, but Zhang Xian easily obtained it with just a few words. The Withered City Lord's eyes lit up. What a domineering beast core. If a magical pet were to consume it, it would immediately undergo a complete transformation. He was overjoyed as he thought about how the 3 demon sects had spent so much effort and lost so many people. All sovereign personages would fight to the death to obtain the supreme treasures they possessed. Once, there was a middle-stage star venerate expert of the demonic Dao sect who behaved atrociously in the city. After 10 moves, that middle-stage star venerate expert died. Demonic Dao cultivators had always been arrogant and unruly. If there was even the slightest conflict, they would start fighting. However, the order in the city was rather stable. There were practically no signs of fighting. What a grand lineup. He doesn't look like a demonic sect martial artist. Could he be a righteous Dao martial artist? He's actually carrying a baby. The Withered Leaf City Lord still hadn't opened his eyes. Seeing that Xiao Chen didn't say anything, he added. Xiao Chen was deep in thought. He took off the blood-colored ring in his hand and handed it to Withered Leaf City Lord. Although Withered Leaf City was called a city, it could be seen as a strong rank 6 demonic Dao sect. Life was full of ups and downs, and not everyone could withstand it. Xiao Chen remained expressionless as he stepped forward and put away the demonic cloud heaven-swallowing art, the Qiongqi beast ghost pennant, and the blood-colored beast core. Originally, Xiao Chen had thought that the news would not spread very quickly after leaving Myriad Star Mountain. On the other hand, Xiao Chen remained expressionless and calm. Such boldness was indeed admirable. Xiao Chen's strength was unfathomable, even stronger than the leading elders of the 3 great demonic Dao sections. Xiao Chen remained expressionless and did not say anything. Then, he decisively tossed down the Qiongqi beast ghost pennant. It could only be said that Withered Leaf City had an extremely strong city lord's residence that managed it very strictly. Withered Leaf City's city lord opened his eyes and stretched out his hand to receive the Qiongqi beast ghost pennant. Then, he revealed a smile. You are indeed incredible, unlike those pedantic seniors who lost their lives for wealth, only regretting it when death approaches. Seeing Xiao Chen's attitude, the other customers in the hall all showed expressions of anticipation for a good show. After the matter was over, that cultivator's sect did not dare to say anything more. Before that cultivator could react, the demon blood vulture opened its jaws and swallowed him whole. However, Withered Leaf City's city lord changed the topic and continued, however, activating the transrealm transportation formation is not something that can be done overnight. If you want to activate it now, it will be somewhat difficult. The cost of repairing it after the matter is too high. This old man would like to ask young Master Xiao for a supreme treasure to offset the cost of repairing it. However, the method of operation was somewhat special. One could directly teleport to a starry heaven relay station. Then, using a small starry heaven relay station as a springboard, one could continuously teleport to the central Great Realm. By phone. At this moment, when Xiaochen walked on the street, he found it surprisingly bustling. However, the people walking here were all demonic Tao cultivators. Xiaochen was stunned for a moment. After some thought, he took out the remaining 6-sword monarch grass from his storage ring. Treasuring a jade ring becomes a crime. The people from the city lord's mansion would probably arrive soon. However, there was one thing that left a deep impression on Xiaochen. Xiaochen said indifferently, not saying anything more. Xiaochen remained expressionless. He casually waved his hand and handed over the demonic cloud heaven swallowing art, the cultivation technique that the Scarlet Blood Pirate King cultivated. There were also those people who had been following Xiaochen in secret since he entered the city. He did not know what they were planning. Withered Leaf City's city lord rejoiced at obtaining another treasure. Just as he was about to continue speaking, he found that he could not think of any good excuse. Withered Leaf City's city lord said indifferently with his eyes closed when he saw Xiaochen, not exchanging any pleasantries at all. This was Xiaochen's first time in the Ash-Gray Sea, so he did not have any enemies or grudges. Unexpectedly, he was still one step too late. Withered Leaf City's city lord said directly after arriving before Xiaochen. Hence, the majestic group followed behind Xiaochen and Bai Feng, heading for the city lord's residence in a spectacular manner. White-robed King Xiaochen, come with me. Even the items sold in the shops were all sorts of tools and materials that demonic Tao cultivators used to cultivate or food containing a demonic nature. How should Xiaochen deal with this? This was a difficult problem. Goodbye. With these, Xiaochen's strength would soar. Breaking through to Holy Venerate and advancing to Sovereign Personage was just around the corner. Just as Xiaochen was thinking about this, a person entered the inn. It was the city gate commander, Bai Feng, whom Xiaochen had met earlier. Bai Feng's eyes were wide open as he looked at Xiaochen, dying with a remaining grievance. Bai Feng had watched for a long time but did not gain any benefits at all. He felt somewhat upset. At such a young age, Bai Feng already won the trust of Withered Leaf City's city lord. Furthermore, his cultivation was unfathomable. The 6-sword monarch grass flashed with light and entered Bai Feng's body. A murderous intent flashed in Xiaochen's heart. However, his expression did not change, and he did not say anything. It was like Bai Feng did not want others to know what happened in the room, even the city lord's residence's people. Withered Leaf City, how shrewd. Although this place was quite far away from the 10,000-star mountain and he wouldn't meet people from the 3 demon sects, what he had hoped for in his life was easily realized in a single day. However, he had purposely left a restriction in this room, isolating all information from the outside world. Bai Feng was initially unhappy, but he revealed a trace of joy when he sensed the sword intent contained in the imperial sword herb. Here. Along the way, he attracted the attention of everyone, and they discussed and pointed at him. The Withered Leaf City Lord's eyelids twitched as he received the ring. He could sense that the demonic nature contained within the ring was extremely shocking. The Withered Leaf City Lord, who was flipping through the demonic cloud heaven swallowing art, was completely immersed in it. Who is this? How dare he speak to Commander Bai like this? But so what? He ran to Withered Leaf City like an idiot and was spat out all the same. The city lord of Withered Leaf City took the demon cloud heaven swallowing art, and his hands trembled slightly. His eyes, which had been closed all this time, also opened wide. Without saying anything, Xiaochen handed over the mysterious beast core in his storage ring. Aside from the rank 7 demonic Tao sects, only 10 cities in the entire Ash-Gray Sea had trans-realm transportation formations that led to the central Great Realm. Eat your fill before you leave. Xiaochen vaguely felt like he could continuously devour the demonic nature in the surroundings to strengthen himself. Xiao Chen and Bai Feng left the room. However, who could have imagined that Bai Feng would show a good attitude, smiling as he sat across from Xiao Chen. To think that I took the initiative to enter this wolf's den. Indeed, if I had such a supreme treasure, I would be in Xiao Chen's position. Thinking of this, Bai Feng could not help feeling happy. He looked at Xiao Chen with a gloating expression. The Withered Leaf City Lord was a swift and decisive person. It did not matter. Xiao Chen had already survived the tribulation of the Black Lotus sect venerate. He was not afraid of this tribulation. Any of the treasures that Xiao Chen handed over was a supreme treasure. After sensing for a while, Xiao Chen discovered that the Qiongqi Beast Ghost Pennant already had Xiao Chen's spiritual mark. It is probably not enough. The white-robed Xiao Chen slaughtered the true inheritors of the three great demonic Tao sects before the three holy venerates, Bai Feng said casually, revealing all the information about Xiao Chen, expressing his purpose for coming here. Xiao Chen said indifferently, revealing a mocking smile on his face. Then, he took out a medallion and handed it to Xiao Chen. Take my medallion and go to the Transrealm Transportation Formation in the residence. You can activate it and leave immediately. This old man will keep his word. I will take one of your supreme treasures and guarantee your safe departure. Aside from this, if you want to go to the Central Great Realm, you can go to the Central Great Realm. Or, if you do not agree, I will kill you and search for it myself. However, the world was vast. Sleeping came first and eating second. The Withered Leaf City Lord received the Scarlet Beast Core and placed it beside the Qiongqi Beast Ghost Pennant. Then, he said indifferently, right now, all the great demonic Tao sects in the Ash Gray Sea are searching for news of you. Who knows how many people want to kill you? If I let you go, I will inevitably be criticized. After you leave, there is no need to care about anything. However, I will have to endure a lot of pressure. After casually choosing an inn in the city, Xiao Chen found out that the Transrealm Transportation Formation opened in the middle of every month. Here. Xiao Chen casually ate and drank a table full of food and wine as he muttered to himself about his fortuitous encounter. Withered Leaf City was one of them. How troublesome. Xiao Chen frowned slightly. After thinking about it, he could only assume that his experiences at Myriad Star Mountain had spread. Xiao Chen saw that more than 100 Star Venerate experts had already gathered at the inn's main entrance. Their clothes were uniform, and their eyes gleamed with killing qi. These were the elites of the army. This was how fate played with people. No matter how overwhelming one's luck was, if one was not careful, the situation could turn around in an instant. It had to be said that Xiao Chen was very astute and thoughtful. Then, he casually set it aside and continued, I believe that you are here for the Transrealm Transportation Formation. This Qiongqi Beast Ghost Pennant can spare your life. However, if you want to use the Transrealm Transportation Formation, you will have to give me a supreme treasure. This old man will get straight to the point. I cannot take the inheritance of the faux god Flame. However, you have to give me one of the 8 supreme treasures that you obtained on the stone pillar with the divine flame. Otherwise, it will be very difficult for you to leave Withered Leaf City. The transportation to the Central Great Realm was not like the transportation between other great realms. Only extremely ancient transportation formations could allow direct transportation. 1 hour later, under Bai Feng's lead, Xiao Chen met with Withered Leaf City's city lord. Xiao Chen had just received the medallion when Bai Feng, who was at the side, turned anxious. It looked like Xiao Chen was about to leave. Bai Feng, who was fiddling with the sword monarch grass, showed a startled expression. Just as he was about to say something, Xiao Chen stood up and performed a cup-fist salute. Withered Leaf City's city lord's heart was already set on the supreme treasure that Xiao Chen gave him. He did not even raise his head as he said, take care. I won't send you off. This was a peak early-stage holy venerate. It was opened only once a month, and it required an astronomical price of spirit stones. Bai Feng's gaze swept through the hall before landing on Xiao Chen. Then, he walked over with a smile. Xiao Chen did not know much about Withered Leaf City. This was all he knew. Immediately, he put it on his hand and immediately felt an overwhelming demonic aura spreading throughout his body. Bai Feng's eyelids twitched as he watched from the side. He could not hide the greed in his eyes. The white-robed bladesman carrying the infant instantly became a mysterious person in Withered Leaf City. Chapter 1842. There was only one transboundary teleportation formation in the entire Soaring Dragon County, and it was located in a palace in the central plaza of Soaring Dragon City. The Transrealm teleportation formation here was not owned by the Soaring Dragon Marquis. The cross-border dimensional portal was a strategic resource. All the cross-border dimensional portals in Dynasty were controlled by the imperial family. The Yen Emperor Palace controlled, protected, and maintained them. At this moment, on the Dao platform in the Soaring Dragon City's interrealm teleportation formation, countless turbulence surged everywhere. The Daoist gate formed by the circular light screen was extremely unstable. It was on the verge of collapse, as if it would shatter at any moment. Looks like there's a problem. The platform on the other side is in trouble. The few elders of the Waywood formation discussed in low voices, but did not panic. This kind of matter was not strange at all, it was not strange at all. The Transrealm Teleportation Array was a teleportation array that could cross countless great realms and directly teleport one to the central great realm. They were all ancient Dao platforms that were extremely unstable. They needed to be maintained frequently and carefully looked after. Even so, there were still a few failures every 10 years. I wonder which unlucky bastard encountered a malfunction in the Dao platform. How unlucky. A Saint Venerable would have a 30% chance of surviving. If it is a sovereign personage, there is an 80% chance. An old man asked, what if it's a Star Lord? He's definitely going to die. The old man leading the group said with absolute certainty. Bang! As soon as he finished speaking, a white-robed man with a weak expression walked out from the broken Taoist door. He was carrying a baby on his back. Star Lord, it really is Star Lord. The eyes of the old men surrounding the platform were wide open, each and every one of them was filled with disbelief. Xiaochen wiped off the blood on his lips. Then, he looked around and fixed his gaze on the leading old man. Might I ask, Senior, if this is the Yanwu Dynasty's Soaring Dragon Marquis 8? Exactly. The red-robed old man was stunned for a moment before he nodded. Xiaochen breathed a sigh of relief in his heart. Ignoring the confused gazes of these old men, he walked straight out. After Xiaochen left the palace, the group of old men collected their thoughts and began to discuss among themselves. It really is a Star Venerate. He managed to come out. This is too incredible. How did he survive the spatial reversal? That is something that even holy venerates do not dare to face. The most frightening thing is that he actually successfully arrived at the Soaring Dragon County, and was not transported to any other place. The leader of the group entered deep thought. Then, he said, we need to investigate this person. Immediately use the royal family's dark net to find out everything about him. Xiaochen walked out of the palace and looked at the sky, sighing. It wasn't easy to escape from death. In retrospect, it was truly thrilling. However, things were different now. They had arrived at the Soaring Dragon Marquis 8, the central great realm. That was, birds flying in the vast sky and fish leaping in the vast sea. Is this the central great world? Xiaochen looked around. Apart from being more prosperous, he didn't feel anything different. The only difference was that there were more experts in the city. Star venerates like Xiaochen, who could move about the Grave Island Sea without fear, were not common on the streets. But from time to time, he would run into one or two. Let's find a place to rest. After spending time with the little monk, his luck hadn't been good, and he kept getting injured. Xiaochen would not believe that the little monk's body of misfortune did not affect him at all. After casually finding an inn in the Soaring Dragon Marquis 8, Xiaochen locked himself in and started to recuperate. This time, Xiaochen needed to return his body to its peak, to recover from all his injuries. Time passed very quickly. In the blink of an eye, 1 month had passed. Xiaochen opened his eyes, and many stars flickered in them. A certain shackle in his body had been broken. His spirit, chi, and energy had improved by another level. The number of stars in his soul pool had doubled. I broke through. Xiao Chen's cultivation, which had been stuck at early stage star venerate, broke through to middle stage star venerate without any bottlenecks. It was not strange for him to break through unintentionally. Xiao Chen had been stuck at peak major primal core realm for too long. His foundation was incredibly firm. The moment he broke through, he reached peak early stage star venerate. After that, he experienced several calamities. Taking advantage of the situation to break through was reasonable. After reaching middle stage star venerate, advancing to late stage star venerate was somewhat difficult. Xiao Chen walked out of the cultivation room and arrived at the guest room. The little monk on the bed still had his eyes tightly shut. The little monk showed no signs of waking up. Xiao Chen could tell that his bloodline was undergoing some kind of rebirth. It was hard to say when the little monk would wake up. Perhaps he would wake up in the next moment. Perhaps he would not wake up for 8 to 10 years. Anything was possible. It's just a small problem. Xiao Chen smiled bitterly and pinched the little monk's cheek. Then, he placed the little monk in his backpack and left the guest room. It was time to go. I had to make good use of the time to send the little monk back to the hidden spirit temple. Carrying the little monk on his back, Xiao Chen left the room. Then, he found the innkeeper and paid for the room before leaving. Xiao Chen glanced around and showed a slightly stunned expression. Then, his gaze landed on a handsome bladesman. However, Xiao Chen did not remember this person. What a familiar aura. This person has the dragon race bloodline and is also a bladesman. It's him. It's that Jiang He who stole the dragon race's supreme treasure and the Smiling Daughter Pavilion's fairy basket in the Soaring Dragon Great Realm. It was a small world. What a coincidence. Unexpectedly, Xiao Chen ran into the other party here. Xiao Chen walked over with large strides and suddenly appeared. Then, he sat down across from Jiang He and placed his saber on the table. Then, he picked up a wine cup and poured wine for himself. Friend, I never treat strangers to wine, Jiang He said casually. When he inadvertently raised his head and saw Xiao Chen's appearance, he was stunned for a while. Xiao Chen smiled faintly and said, Brother Jiang He, we meet again. After Jiang He recovered with much difficulty, his trademark mischievous smile reappeared. Come, come, come. It has been 2 years since we last met. Let me see our white-robed bladesman. What improvement did you make? Wow! How scary! Your cultivation actually reached middle stage star venerate. You really chased after me with all your might. Hey, you even have a son now. Jiang He turned around and stood behind Xiao Chen. When he saw the baby-like little monk, he immediately felt joyful. Come, come, come. Let me carry you. Jiang He carried the little monk out and sat down again. Then, he exclaimed in surprise, he does not look like you, little brother Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen smiled bitterly and said, whatever you say. Slowly, Jiang He noticed something strange. His expression turned increasingly strange. This child is a little strange. How can he have such terrifying sins at such a young age? Xiao Chen looked around and put down his wine cup. This is not the place to talk. Let's go somewhere else. Jiang He nodded. Let's go to the courtyard I rented. All right. After a while, the two arrived at Jiang He's courtyard. Xiao Chen gave a simple explanation of the little monk's origins. Damn! This is the little demonic monk's silver saber. I'll return it to you. I'll return it to you. After learning about the little monk's origins, Jiang He was startled. He quickly placed the little monk on Xiao Chen's back. Xiao Chen smiled faintly. It looked like the little demonic monk's silver saber was indeed famous. To think that even Jiang He feared him. He is not just famous. There are too many things about him. In the Yanwu dynasty, people might not know who the crown prince is. However, everyone knows about the little demonic monk's silver saber. Jiang He still felt some regret. He kept muttering to himself like a god of misfortune already haunted him. That's enough about me. Let's talk about you. Why did you come to the Soaring Dragon Marquis? You even used a disguise. Are you here to steal again? Xiao Chen was rather calm. He was already used to the little monk's existence. He did not care much about the so-called misfortune. When Jiang He heard that, he sighed. The matter of stealing the fairy basket was exposed. Now, the Soaring Dragon Marquis and the Smiling Daughter Pavilion are chasing me. That's impossible, right? Xiao Chen felt incredibly shocked. After that, he went to the Smiling Daughter Pavilion, but the other party had no clue. Jiang He frowned helplessly and said, "It's the Heavenly Book Scholar." The Smiling Daughter Pavilion spent a lot of money to hire the Heavenly Book Scholar to perform a divination in the Heavenly Mystery Tower. Originally, I had already erased the heavenly mysteries of that time. However, I ran into the Heavenly Book Scholar, who calculated all lives. I could not do anything about it, and I was discovered. So, Jiang He showed a smile on his face. He nearly caused me to die a few times. Of course, I have to get back at him. I heard that the Night Cloud fan in the Heavenly Book Scholar's hand was his most prized possession, so I stole it for him. I showed him how great it is to scheme against me. Could the Heavenly Book Scholar be in the Soaring Dragon Marquis? Of course. Otherwise, why would I come all the way here? How about it? Do you want to meet this person with me? Jiang He urged as he looked at Xiao Chen's face, a hidden smile on his face. Xiao Chen wondered what Jiang He was thinking. Chapter 1843. These old bones are really unpalatable. The demon blood vulture said with some dissatisfaction as it spat out a storage ring. A holy venerate, Withered Leaf City's city lord, was gone, just like that. The demon blood vulture swallowed him whole, not even leaving scraps. He was truly pitiful. This pitiful person definitely had something hateful about him. He was so greedy, his desires inflated. Such an outcome could be said to be his own doing and could not be spared. If the demon blood vulture only extorted a Cheongqi beast ghost pennant and then sent Xiao Chen away, this would be a fair deal. The Cheongqi beast ghost pennant was a superior grade soul tool carefully selected by the Scarlet Blood Pirate King. Its value was very high, and the demon blood vulture profited greatly. Upon seeing the medallion, the guards looked at Xiao Chen, and their expressions changed. This was a rare VIP medallion. Without an extraordinary background, one would not be able to obtain it. Young master, this way, please. One of the guards respectfully led Xiao Chen to the Transrealm Transportation Formation in the City Lord's residence. After killing Withered Leaf City's City Lord and by phone, Xiao Chen showed a calm expression, not showing any openings. Instead, he even got the Withered Leaf City's City Lord's guard to respectfully lead him to the Transrealm Transportation Formation. It had to be said that this kind of psychological quality was not something an ordinary person could achieve. If an ordinary person killed a holy venerate, it would be impossible for it to not cause a commotion. The moment Xiao Chen stepped out of the City Lord's residence, he would be discovered. The result would be death. The City Lord's residence had many experts, far more than ordinary people imagined. The guard led Xiao Chen to a place in the City Lord's residence that was heavily guarded with many checkpoints. As this was not the time for the Transrealm Transportation Formation to open yet, there was no one here aside from the City Lord's residence experts. Senior Ma, someone is carrying the City Lord's VIP medallion and is going to use the Transrealm Transportation Formation. The guard called out when he stopped at a checkpoint. Medallion. A cold voice came from behind the checkpoint, sounding simple and forceful. Xiao Chen took out the medallion and got the guard to bring it over. Soon, he was invited over. After passing the checkpoint, a huge Dao platform appeared before Xiao Chen. It was made of ancient divine materials and gave off a faint glow. Flickering superior grade spirit jades filled the gaps of the Dao platform. The entire platform had a circumference of 1,000 meters, and its surface was carved with mysterious runes that formed a complicated formation. There were many experts near the Dao platform. The scariest ones were the 8 gray-clad old men guarding the surroundings. Without exception, they were all peak late-stage star venerates, existences comparable to holy venerates. A heavy aura floated in the air. Standing in front of this transboundary teleportation array, it made people feel an extremely uncomfortable pressure. The gray-robed man addressed as Senior Ma stood up. He was a holy venerate expert. He walked towards Xiao Chen and said, "The token is real. However, you are just an insignificant star venerate. Why did the city lord give you the VIP token?" Xiao Chen's eyes burned like torches as he stared straight at Xiao Chen. The might of a holy venerate spread out indistinctly. The pressure it gave off was extremely strong. Xiao Chen did not feel pressured at all. He retorted indifferently, "Why don't you go and ask the city lord yourself?" Senior Ma snorted coldly and tossed the token to Xiao Chen. "Humph. Don't give me that. In our eyes, the city lord is just a representative. Quickly tell us where you want to go. We will send you there directly." Senior Ma had only asked casually, not truly suspecting Xiao Chen. When he saw Xiao Chen's unyielding attitude, he dropped the matter. Xiao Chen thought for a while before replying, "The Yanwu dynasty." The Yanwu dynasty is boundlessly vast. Aside from the dynasty's capital, there are 118 provinces. Each province is as large as half a great realm. "Which province or county are you going to?" Senior Ma asked somewhat impatiently. Xiao Chen did not know which province to go to. If he went directly to the hidden spirit temple, that was unlikely. A demonic Dao city definitely did not have a transboundary transportation formation that led directly to a large Buddhist sect. The two of them were sworn enemies. Soaring Dragon Province, Soaring Dragon County. After thinking for a while, Xiao Chen mentioned the only address he knew of in the Yanwu dynasty, the Soaring Dragon Marquis's conferred land. Xiao Chen recalled that Lan Luo's father, the Soaring Dragon Marquis, was the master of that province. No matter what, he would be completely safe after going to the Yanwu Great Realm. He could go anywhere he wanted. At that time, when the little monk woke up, Xiao Chen would not have to worry about him anymore. Xiao Chen wanted to go directly to the Divine Dragon Empire. However, given the little monk's situation, he could only send him back first. After all, it would be much more convenient to go to the Divine Dragon Empire after arriving in the Central Great Realm than to the Divine Dragon Empire from the Ash Gray Sea. "Send him over," Senior Ma said expressionlessly. Old Ma said expressionlessly. The 8 old men started forming hand seals together, and the magic arrays on the Dao platform activated one after another. A mysterious pillar of light soared into the clouds. After a long time, sweat continuously dripped down the 8 old men's foreheads. A circular door of light appeared in the center of the Dao platform. The light screen looked like smooth water, glowing like a mirror. Xiao Chen knew that he could reach his destination after passing through the door of light. Xiao Chen pushed off with his feet and gently drifted into the door of light. Just as Xiao Chen entered the door of light, someone suddenly rushed over with a flustered expression. "We can't let him leave." The city lord's life medallion shattered. Senior Ma's expression immediately changed. He turned around and said, "Quick! Stop the transrealm transportation formation. It's too late." The 8 old men had weak expressions as they spoke with great difficulty. "Damn it!" Senior Ma roared, and his holy venerate will surged out and crashed into the door of light. Tiny cracks immediately appeared in the water curtain-like door of light. Boom! Senior Ma was not done yet. His aura soared as he threw a palm strike. The palm strike shattered the door of light, turning it into countless figures of light. Pu Ci. The 8 old men maintaining the formations all vomited a mouthful of blood. They immediately suffered a huge backlash and fainted on the Dao platform. "Speak! What's going on?" Senior Ma shouted coldly, making the person who came to report tremble. The city lord and commander by mysteriously invited this person in today and even laid a restriction. When he came out, he brought the city lord's distinguished guest medallion. At that time, the city lord's life medallion shattered, but we did not immediately suspect him. After all, he is just a star venerate. Furthermore, Commander Bai was there. The person who came trembled in fear, speaking in a trembling voice. Doubt flashed in Senior Ma's eyes. Even if it were him, he could not imagine that the Withered Leaf City's city lord would die at Xiao Chen's hands. Even now, Senior Ma did not think that the murderer was Xiao Chen. However, there had to be some connection to this matter. It had to be related to Xiao Chen. Senior Ma was not satisfied with just letting Xiao Chen leave. However, the door of light shattered. Even if this fellow appeared in the Yanwu dynasty, he would not be able to escape death. However, the city lord's death would become a mystery. Chapter 1845. The Book of Lives, the Heavenly Book Scholar. Xiao Chen thought to himself, as the saying goes, the mysteries of heaven cannot be revealed. Is he really that divine? Speaking of which, the dragon-seeking art that Xiao Chen once cultivated and the divination Tao both belonged to the profound Tao. Xiao Chen believed in divination of the mysteries of heaven. Xiao Chen, who had reached the peak of the Kunlun realm, had already touched upon the Kunlun heavenly Tao. From there, he could see some of the mysteries of heaven and see the future, such as his fight with Chu Chaoyun. However, even if he knew, many things could not be avoided. This was how fate worked. Xiao Chen did not believe in fate. However, sometimes, fate could not be avoided. How is it? Have you thought it through? Jiang He looked at Xiao Chen, revealing a look of desire in his eyes. He really hoped that Xiao Chen would go with him. Let's go, then. Xiao Chen thought, the little monk has mentioned this person several times. There is no harm in meeting him. Let's go. It looked like Jiang He was already impatient to leave. The Heavenly Mystery Tower was a famous building in Soaring Dragon City. After leaving the inn, one could see the towering tower in the distance when they looked up. The tower's tip pierced the clouds, and a resplendent pearl was embedded at the top. The pearl gave off electric light in all directions, adding to its mysteriousness. Xiao Chen casually waved, and the cycle war chariot appeared. Then, it turned into a black chariot and quickly carried the two to their destination. While the chariot looked very close, when they actually walked, they had to cross several streets. The chariot traveled for 1 hour before finally arriving near the Heavenly Mystery Tower. Even with the cycle war chariot's speed, they still had to travel for another hour. However, they still had not left this area. This showed how vast Soaring Dragon City was, somewhat inconceivably large. When the two got off the chariot, they discovered that the Heavenly Mystery Tower's doors were tightly shut. However, a large group of people gathered in front of the tower. These were probably all people who wanted to meet the Heavenly Book Scholar. Jiang He rubbed his chin and said, "This is unfortunate. The Heavenly Mystery Tower is actually closed. Is there any other way in?" Jiang He looked around as if he did not want to take the usual route. Xiao Chen stopped him and said, "There seems to be something in front of the door. These people should be looking at it. Is that so? Go over and take a look. Make way, make way." Jiang He squeezed in without saying a word, and those who were pushed away were furious. Still, as the saying goes, one does not slap a smiling face. Hence, Jiang He smiled apologetically, and hence led Xiao Chen to the front of the crowd. "It's a notice." There was a notice pasted on the door. It was very simple and clear, "Honored guests are here today. The Heavenly Book Scholar will not see outsiders. The Heavenly Mystery Tower will open at dusk." Xiao Chen looked up at the sky. It was not noon yet. If they waited until dusk, they would have to wait for more than half a day. What distinguished guest! Even if you do not want to meet the Heavenly Book Scholar, you can meet the other fortune tellers. Why do you have to close your doors? This is really strange. Perhaps it really is an esteemed guest who has arrived and does not want others to know his identity. There is no lack of such major characters in Soaring Dragon City. Could it be someone from the Marquis's residence? When they saw the notice, the people from all over started talking all at once. If it was a distinguished guest, there was naturally no one in Soaring Dragon City who had a more distinguished status than the people in the Marquis's mansion. However, that was hard to say. There were many hidden dragons and crouching tigers in the Yenwu dynasty. Who knew who it was, coming from afar to seek an audience with the heavenly book scholar? There had been such examples in the past. Come out first. Jiang He led Xiaochen out and arrived at a desolate place. Then, he stared at the heavenly mystery tower and entered deep thought. Xiaochen observed Jiang He's expression and said, "You can't be thinking of sneaking in, right?" Jiang He retorted boldly, "Of course. In my plan, I have already taken into account such a situation. When an esteemed guest arrives, it is the time to focus on divination. To me, this is a heaven-sent opportunity." Xiaochen shook his head, not thinking much of it. Just by looking at this heavenly mystery tower, one would feel that it was not simple. Aside from the doors, there were no other entrances. The walls of the tower were tightly sealed, not leaving any gaps or even windows. It was basically impossible to sneak in without anyone noticing. Furthermore, it was currently daytime. There were many people nearby, making it even more difficult. How are you going to enter? Of course, by walking in openly. Jiang He smiled mysteriously. Then, he took out a talisman and handed it to Xiaochen. I found this in an ancient grave. I do not know which epoch it is from, but there are only 3 of them. They can temporarily immaterialize your body for 15 minutes. That should be enough for us to enter. After receiving the talisman, Xiaochen felt slightly shocked. Your talisman is no less valuable than the folding fan in his hand. Is it worth it? That folding fan is the heavenly book scholar's lifeblood. To me, the talisman is just a tool that I can casually give away. There is no comparison between the two. Jiang He stuck the talisman on his body. Then, Xiaochen immediately discovered that Jiang He vanished from before his eyes. After thinking for a while, Xiaochen used his soul energy to activate the talisman and stuck it on his body as well. He thought to himself, using such a precious item like this is truly a waste. Only someone like Jiang He, who did not care about anything, could be so calm. Let's go. Although Xiaochen could not see the other party, he could hear Jiang He's voice projection. He pressed forward courageously, passing through the crowd and going through the door. The immaterialized two easily passed through the door riddled with restrictions, not causing any commotion. Let's be faster. The heavenly book scholar has been performing divination on the 8th floor. The talisman only lasted for 15 minutes. They had to hurry. Otherwise, it would be problematic if they were exposed midway. Whoosh! 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 The two moved quickly, passing through many restrictions and moving under the watchful eyes of many experts. His movements were unimpeded, and he was advancing at a much faster pace than he had expected. This saved them a lot of time and brought them to the 8th floor. It's in the west. Go straight, turn left, turn right, we arrived. It looked like Jiang He was very familiar with the situation here. In less than 15 minutes, Xiaochen and Jiang He arrived at the room where the heavenly book scholar performed divination. 2 plain wooden doors stood ajar at the end of the path. Strange. Aren't we going to meet an honored guest? Why is there no one guarding the room? Why is there no sound coming from inside? Xiaochen felt curious. His immaterialized body passed through the wooden doors and arrived at the heavenly book scholar's room. The furnishings in the room gave off an ancient charm, looking very elegant. There was a white piece of paper spread out on the desk, and a maidservant was grinding it. Beside her was a white-robed scholar, who was fanning himself with his eyes closed. There was no one on the opposite chair. Xiaochen wondered if the honored guest had already left or if the honored guest had never been here. Sit. The white-clad scholar suddenly said, revealing a smile on his delicate and pale face as he raised his head to look at Xiao Chen. You can see me. This startled Xiao Chen when he heard that. There was still a long way to go before the time limit was up. Why can't I see you? The white-clad scholar closed the folding fan in his hand and revealed a playful expression. Ghostly shadow bandit, where are you trying to run? Whoosh! Whoosh! 10 odd experts suddenly appeared in the originally empty room, blocking Xiao Chen's path. Humph! You did not expect such a day to come, right? Jiang He. The heavenly book scholar foresaw that you would walk right into our trap today. Hand over my smiling daughter pavilion's fairy basket. And my sun moon pavilion's holy sky treasure mirror. And my Jiang clan's clan head's jade underworld sword. That is the only soul tool of my Jiang clan. The 10 odd people all felt indignant at this injustice, their rage unquenchable. The murderous intent in their eyes nearly spewed out as flames. Damn it! I got tricked. From the start to the end, there were no honored guests. It was just the heavenly book scholar setting up the trap for Jiang He, having predicted that he would come today. However, the one who tricked Xiao Chen was Jiang He. The heavenly book scholar had tampered with the talisman he gave to Xiao Chen. Before the time limit was up, the effects vanished. Xiao Chen said calmly, I am not Jiang He. I am Xiao Chen. Ha! Who does not know that Xiao Chen is Jiang He and Jiang He is Xiao Chen? Ghostly shadow bandit, when you stole my clan's jade underworld sword, didn't you use Xiao Chen's name? One of the old men holding a sword looked coldly at Xiao Chen, showing a mocking expression. With the heavenly book scholar here today, no matter how flawless your disguise is, you can forget about quibbling. Hurry up and hand over the treasures you stole. I can sense that my smiling daughter pavilion's fairy basket is indeed in his hands. Just at this moment, a pretty woman in her prime looked at Xiao Chen while holding the fairy basket. She could no longer hold back her murderous intent. Good. This is great. There is no way for me to explain myself. White is black. Xiao Chen turned around and looked at the heavenly book scholar. Then, he said, since you are known as the Book of Accounts, knowing everything, why don't you make a divination? Am I Jiang He? Right now, Xiao Chen could only rely on the heavenly book scholar. He hoped that the other party was reliable. From the start to the end, the white-clad scholar did not say anything. However, some doubt appeared in his eyes as he looked at Xiao Chen. You still need to make a divination. If you are not the ghostly shadow bandit, how are you going to explain the fairy basket in your hand? The fairy basket of my smiling daughter pavilion's branch is just a replica. The feeling from the original in my hand cannot be fake. That pretty woman in her prime spoke in an incredibly forceful manner, looking like she wanted to take down Xiao Chen on the spot. When the others heard this, their killing chi intensified. They all looked at Xiao Chen with extremely hostile gazes. Everyone, there is no need to be in such a rush. Once he enters the heavenly mystery tower, he will be like a turtle in a jar. He will not be able to escape. The heavenly book scholar said slowly, whether he is or not, I will know once I make a divination. Right after the heavenly book scholar spoke, stars flickered in his eyes. He held the fan in his right hand and performed divination with his left. As the heavenly book scholar executed his divination, the white paper on the table slowly floated up. Xiao Chen's expression changed slightly. He felt like he could no longer hide any secrets before this pair of eyes. A mysterious energy invisibly encased Xiao Chen's body. Stars flickered in the heavenly book scholar's eyes, looking like the vast and boundless starry heavens. Stars were continuously destroyed before being reborn. It was like the supreme principles of the universe were all in the heavenly book scholar's eyes. It's really him. Someone suddenly exclaimed. The white paper floating in the air slowly revealed a portrait of a person. It was the portrait of Jiang He when Xiao Chen first met him. This stunned Xiao Chen. How can this be? How can I not know who I am? That's not right. Suddenly, the heavenly book scholar's expression changed slightly. Someone had secretly tampered with the aura of the person before him. However, the Heavenly Book scholar was horrified to discover a horrifying existence in this person's fate. It was unfathomable and unfathomable. The Heavenly Book scholar wanted to stop, but it was already too late. Pu-ci. The Heavenly Book scholar vomited a mouthful of blood and fainted. Young master. The maidservant at the side showed an anxious expression. The portrait floating in the air burned and turned into ashes. Take him down. He wants to attack the Heavenly Book scholar. The situation instantly worsened. 10 odd holy venerates launched themselves at Xiao Chen at the same time. Chapter 1846. Even the ledger keeper of the common people can't find my innocence. Xiao Chen felt somewhat speechless. Then, he turned his head to look at the 10 holy venerates surrounding him. What exactly did this Jiang He steal? To think that he provoked a group of holy venerates into being so unreasonable. For one to become a holy venerate, one's mental state and intelligence were clearly high. However, rage clearly got to Jiang He's head now, wanting to kill Xiao Chen first. Jiang He definitely could not defeat 10 holy venerates. He could only defeat them with his wits, not force. Whoosh! Xiao Chen's figure flashed, and he landed behind the unconscious Heavenly Book scholar. Then, he knocked out the anxious, pretty maidservant with a palm strike. Then, he carried the Heavenly Book scholar's body and used it as a shield. Shameless! The group of holy venerates immediately held back for fear of harming the Heavenly Book scholar. Ghostly Shadow Bandit, quickly release the Heavenly Book scholar, and we can still let you die a quick death. Otherwise, it will be hard for you to die. The old man whose clan's sole tool was stolen by Jiang He cursed endlessly, feeling incredibly frustrated. Xiao Chen sensed for a while. Right now, the entire Heavenly Mystery Tower was startled. The experts in the tower were rushing over. In fact, there were even a few extremely terrifying auras that were rapidly rushing over. This place was not suitable for them to linger. If they did, they would definitely die. Boom! Xiao Chen could not be bothered with this group of people who kept shouting at him but did not dare to step forward. Xiao Chen turned around and punched the wall. He activated 30% of his blue dragon bloodline and infused it with 20 cauldron force. A dragon roar immediately rang out, and the force of his punch blasted a hole in the wall. Whoosh! Nearly the instant Xiao Chen punched, Xiao Chen carried the little monk and the Heavenly Book scholar on his back and rushed out of the hole. After him. The holy venerates behind were stunned for a moment, feeling somewhat shocked. The force of Xiao Chen's punch actually blasted a hole in the Heavenly Mystery Tower's wall. This was simply incredible. After startling to their senses, the holy venerates quickly moved and gave chase. Stay behind. A mysterious expert leaped out of the top floor of the Heavenly Mystery Tower and chased after Xiao Chen. A will burst out from the center of his brows, which surged forward with the heavenly might. What a fellow! The person who came was a peak late-stage holy venerate expert. Xiao Chen did not dare to clash head-on. He unfurled his blue dragon divine wings, and his speed suddenly soared, allowing him to dodge this holy venerate will in advance. He circulated the heavenly heart art, and the heavenly eye on his forehead opened. Xiao Chen took out the soul slayer bow. In the blink of an eye, he condensed arrows with his heart flame and shot out 10 odd arrows. Electric light flickered on the blue dragon divine wings. With a gentle flap, thunder and lightning roared endlessly. He pushed Xiao Chen's thunder great Dao to its limits. With his nimble body, swift speed, and the heart's fire arrow. Using his own strength, Xiao Chen blocked the many experts behind him, widening the distance between him and the other party. Who is that person? To think that he kidnapped the Heavenly Book scholar. Aren't you meeting an important guest? Why did someone kidnap the Heavenly Book scholar? What's going on? The Heavenly Book scholar calculated all lives. How could he be kidnapped? Could it be that there is someone that he cannot figure out? This sudden scene immediately caused an uproar among the cultivators below the pagoda. After pulling away, before Xiaochen could catch his breath, he felt many terrifying wills soar up from various directions in Soaring Dragon City. These wills headed in the direction of the Heavenly Mystery Tower. The number of hidden experts in the city was truly terrifying. Xiaochen quickly put on the Death God mask and activated the secret technique on the mask clone. Activating the secret technique on the mask doppelganger, the two doppelgangers landed on the ground. Then, Xiaochen executed the secret technique again. The void mask took advantage of the instant his body immaterialized to quickly hide his true body. He used the mask to create a fake body to attract the pursuers. At this moment, no one noticed that a figure suddenly appeared at the top of the Heavenly Mystery Tower. This figure smiled faintly as he looked at the huge pearl crystal embedded in the top of the Heavenly Mystery Tower. Hee hee. This subdivine crystal is mine. This person was Jiang He. While everyone was distracted by Xiaochen, he appeared silently. Jiang He looked at the Heavenly Mystery Tower experts and the holy venerates being chased by the other factions. Then, he said, "Brother Xiaochen, sorry. I'll explain to you later." Right after Jiang He spoke, he quickly removed the subdivine crystal at lightning speed. The instant the subdivine crystal was removed, the sky suddenly turned dark. The expressions of the experts chasing Xiaochen's fake body changed drastically. When they looked back, they were startled. The subdivine crystal that had stood in the Heavenly Mystery Tower for more than 1,000 years was actually taken away. The crowd burst into another commotion. To think that someone dared to steal something from the Heavenly Mystery Tower. Was he not afraid of death? After stealing the Heavenly Mystery Tower's subdivine crystal, even if one ran to the ends of the world, one would still be found. One could offend many factions and experts in the Yanwu dynasty. However, everyone acknowledged that the Heavenly Mystery Tower and the Yan Emperor Palace were two super factions that could not be offended. Damn it! That's a fake body. When the crowd finally caught up to Xiaochen's fake body after putting in all their effort, they all vomited blood in frustration. We let the ghostly shadow bandit escape again. It turns out that his target is that subdivine crystal. It looks like he has an accomplice. This ghostly shadow bandit is becoming increasingly arrogant. He is even targeting the Heavenly Mystery Tower. However, when did the ghostly shadow bandit obtain a pair of dragon wings? How come I have never seen them before? The chain of events was filled with mysteries and strangeness, confusing the group of people chasing after Xiaochen. The Heavenly Mystery Tower turned chaotic at this moment. The subdivine crystal, which powered the entire Heavenly Mystery Tower, had been taken away. Many of the formations malfunctioned. Some formations that needed to continuously replenish energy were destroyed on the spot. The entire tower turned pitch black. Everyone felt incredibly confused. The most important thing was that the Heavenly Book Scholar, the Pagoda Master, was kidnapped. Without a leader, the situation became even more chaotic. The news of the Heavenly Book Scholar being kidnapped and the ghostly shadow bandit stealing the subdivine crystal quickly spread to the various major factions in the city. Such a major matter had not happened in Soaring Dragon City for a very long time already. The Marquis's residents immediately learned of the news and reported it. Even the Soaring Dragon Marquis himself was startled. Xiaochen, who could catch his breath for now, immediately brought the Heavenly Book Scholar to Jiang He's hidden courtyard. Xiaochen had a feeling that Jiang He would return. This was because this place was the safest. The formations he laid could erase the mysteries of heaven, preventing others from divining it. After looking around the courtyard, Xiaochen thought for a while. Then, he placed the Heavenly Book Scholar on a stool at a stone table in the courtyard. Xiaochen placed the folding fan in his right hand on the stone table with his back to the door. Time passed quietly. Xiaochen closed his eyes and waited quietly. When the sky turned dark, footsteps came from outside. Xiaochen quickly opened his eyes. Jiang He, who was in a good mood, immediately felt stunned when he pushed the door open. What entered Jiang He's eyes was the Heavenly Book Scholar's back. He exclaimed hoarsely, "That's impossible. I already laid a heaven-bewildering formation here. You cannot possibly divinate it. You lost. The heavenly book scholar, who should have continued sleeping, suddenly turned around and waved his folding fan. The door behind Jiang He suddenly closed tightly. Flowing light spread out in the entire courtyard, and countless figures flickered. With the heavenly book scholar's fan, the heaven-bewildering formation suddenly turned into a heaven-sealing formation, directly sealing off this space. Interesting. When did you wake up? Originally, Xiaoqin had been prepared to take advantage of Jiang He's stunned state to instantly restrain him and force him to explain what had happened to give him an explanation. If there was no reasonable explanation, Xiaoqin would not hesitate to kill the other party. Who knew? Xiaoqin miscalculated, and the heavenly book scholar woke up prematurely. Damn! Jiang He was startled by Xiaoqian's sudden appearance. He was even more shocked than when the heavenly book scholar appeared. Are you not going to explain to me what's going on with this talisman? Xiaoqin asked as he looked at Jiang He, taking out the talisman that had already lost its effect. Jiang He smiled embarrassedly. I'll speak on his behalf. He made a bet with me. He said that he would perfectly extract the heavenly mystery tower's subdivine crystal within 1 month. If he lost, I would help him make a divination. I divined that he would come to extract it today. However, I did not see that you were a variable. I could not tell you because I would know if I did. While I could not divine what happened to you, I could divine what happened to him. However, he did not expect you to be a variable either. Not only did you manage to escape the pursuit of so many holy venerates, but you even brought me here. The heavenly book scholar stood up and spoke leisurely. He gently fanned himself, appearing calm and collected, giving off an aura of being in control of the situation. Hence, he still lost. No one can leave my heaven-sealing formation. I have the final say in everything. Hand over the substandard god crystals and the things you stole. Pu Ci. However, right after the heavenly book scholar spoke, a hole instantly appeared in the heaven-sealing formation in the sky. Xiaoqin put down the soul slayer bow, and the heart flame on his finger vanished. Then, he looked at the heavenly book scholar and said, "It does not seem as incredible as you make it out to be. A casual arrow can create a hole. Heart force? That's not right. If it were heart force, the heaven-sealing formation would have been destroyed long ago." The heavenly book scholar's expression changed. He silently circulated his divination skills, wanting to continue attacking. However, the moment the heavenly book scholar moved, he discovered a terrifying aura locking down on him. If he moved rashly, he would die in the next moment. Who has the final say now? Xiaoqin asked indifferently after he switched out the Soul Slayer bow for the God's Shadow bow and aimed it at the heavenly book scholar. You! The heavenly book scholar had never felt so sullen before. After a long time, he squeezed out a word through clenched teeth. The heavenly book scholar did not miss anything. Even if a sovereign personage came, that sovereign personage would not show him any respect. Yet, the heavenly book scholar ran into Xiaoqin, who broke his heaven-sealing formation without saying a word. This was a resounding slap to the heavenly book scholar, who had just gained control of the situation. Before he could think of a solution, Xiaoqin took out a soul tool. This was truly unreasonable and extremely tyrannical. Who has lost now? Xiaoqin asked. The heavenly book scholar's expression changed slightly. However, when he saw the God's Shadow bow in Xiaoqian's hand, he said with a sullen expression, "Me." As the saying goes, if one admits a bet, one must be willing to admit defeat. I did not force you, right? A smile appeared on Xiaoqian's icy face. However, he did not put away the God's Shadow bow, continuing to lock down on the heavenly book scholar. Xiaoqin, Jiang He felt warmth in his heart. Unexpectedly, Xiaoqin would still help him at this moment. Stop wasting time. Hurry up. Since I was willing to accompany you despite knowing that you wanted to steal his folding fan, I already had the intention of helping you. Now that the misunderstanding has been resolved, I will naturally help you to the end. Xiaoqin did not waste any words. He quickly expressed his thoughts and urged Jiang He. Many thanks. Jiang He said seriously. Then, he walked over to the Heavenly Book Scholar and told him about his divination. Chapter 1847. Heavenly Book Scholar, you are known as the Book of Life, able to divine everything in the world. Let me ask you something. Who will be the next Dragon Emperor? Right after Jiang He spoke, Xiao Chen's expression changed. What great ambition! Could it be that Jiang He wants to vie for the Dragon Emperor position as well? When the Heavenly Book Scholar heard that, he revealed a mocking expression. What kind of luck is contained in the words Dragon Emperor? Who would dare to casually divine it? You are also someone who knows divination techniques. To think that you would make such a request. I overestimated you. Even if I use my lifespan to divine it, the results will be cryptic and hard to understand. Jiang He said, naturally, I know that. I already brought natural treasures to replenish my lifespan. Just do your best to divine it for me. After saying that, Jiang He took out a brocade box from his storage ring and opened it for the Heavenly Book Scholar to see. Pure water white lotus. The Heavenly Book Scholar received the brocade box and no longer hesitated. You are really persistent. In that case, I'll do as you wish. The Heavenly Book Scholar gently flapped his folding fan and looked up at the starry sky. The stars in his eyes seemed to reflect on the starry heavens. Xiao Chen opened his heavenly eye and looked up. He discovered that the star chart above seemed to move mysteriously. The Heavenly Book Scholar's eyes seemed to see through the mysteries of heaven. His soul landed on the mysterious river of fate. After a while, the Heavenly Book Scholar gave off a terrifying aura. It was like he had the mandate of heaven on him. Even Xiao Chen and Jiang He felt a deep fear from the aura that the Heavenly Book Scholar gave off. The God Shadow Bow in the Heavenly Book Scholar's hand trembled slightly. Sensing a threat, it actually took the initiative to draw on Xiao Chen's soul energy. A pair of scarlet wings silently unfurled on the God Shadow Bow's sides. The God Shadow Bow took on a form that Xiao Chen had never seen before. The entire bow flowed with light, and the holy beast carved on it seemed to move. The Heavenly Book Scholar is stronger than I imagined. He is not as weak as he looks. Xiao Chen thought to himself, when I fought the Black Lotus demonic ancestor in the past, the God Shadow Bow did not show such a mysterious phenomenon. Naturally, the Black Lotus demonic ancestor was stronger than the Heavenly Book Scholar. It could only be said that the Heavenly Book Scholar grasped a terrifying taboo energy but could not casually use it. Hua! The light on the Heavenly Book Scholar's body shattered like glass, turning into countless shards that gathered in the air. What did you see? Jiang He asked somberly, knowing that the divination results were out. Tian Su's complexion was pale, and he was extremely weak. He did not say anything, only holding his folding fan and casually swiping it across the stone table. As the saying went, the mysteries of heaven could not be revealed. Naturally, the Heavenly Book Scholar would not reveal everything he saw. It was just a casual stroke, and how much Jiang He could comprehend would depend on himself. This is a saber mark that you simulated. Are you trying to say that the next Dragon Emperor will be a good saber user? Among the outstanding young talents of the dragon race, aside from the willow leaf saber, I am the next best. Jiang He muttered to himself, could it be that the next Dragon Emperor will be Lu Riyue? In history, the dragon race did have female emperors. With Lu Riyue's talent and elegance, she did indeed have the potential to become the Dragon Emperor. The Heavenly Book Scholar remained expressionless as he said indifferently, what I want to say is all in this stroke. There is no need for you to continue asking me. Thank you. Jiang He did not bother saying anything else. He took out the subdivine crystal and handed it to the Heavenly Book Scholar. After casually receiving the subdivine crystal, the Heavenly Book Scholar looked at Xiao Chen and said, friend, you can put away your bow, right? Xiao Chen smiled faintly and put the God Shadow Bow back into his storage ring. Then, he walked over to the stone table and looked at the mark, entering deep thought. It was indeed a saber mark. Xiao Chen and Jiang He were both peak bladesmen. They could tell what mark the heavenly book scholar wanted to simulate with one glance. However, this saber mark might not indicate that the next dragon emperor would be a bladesman. After the divination ended, the heavenly book scholar retrieved the subdivine crystal. Then, he stood up to leave. When the heavenly book scholar saw Xiao Chen, he paused for a moment before sitting down again. I will give you a word for free. Although I cannot perform a divination for you, I can give you a word. Word reading. Brother Xiao Chen, the heavenly book scholar, first became famous because he read the words of the three princes of the dynasty. Jiang he explained from the side. The heavenly book scholar's word reading was also excellent. Or rather, it should be said that this was his specialty. The heavenly book scholar took out paper, ink, brush, and inkstone. Then, he said, please. Xiao Chen picked up the brush and entered deep thought. However, he did not know what to write. After staring for a while, he dipped the brush in ink and did not stop writing. Then, he wrote a word without hesitation. Moon. The heavenly book scholar looked at Xiao Chen curiously and asked, what do you want? To seek peace of mind. Ha! In that case, it looks like you will not get it. The road ahead is hard to break, and it is hard to find peace of mind. The heavenly book scholar smiled faintly as he fanned himself with his folding fan after looking at Xiao Chen's handwriting. Xiao Chen entered deep thought. What do you mean? If one wants peace of mind, one has to be upright and bright, without any shadows. Without the moon, how can one's heart be at peace? Now, look at your handwriting. The writing is casual, but it is clean, decisive, and straightforward. Your eyes and expressions can lie, but your words cannot. You must have a firm and resolute character, someone who kills decisively. Now, look at your final stroke. There should be a hook when you write the word moon. However, there is none. It plunges straight down like a sharp saber, neat and tidy, looking grand and majestic as it falls from the sky, looking like a sovereign descending from the 9 heavens. This moon is like fire, watered by hot-bloodedness and lofty sentiments. It burns fiercely, comparable to the blazing sun. This moon is like a saber, dazzling with saber light, pressuring with pride and sharpness. Naturally, the heavenly book scholar would not casually give a conclusion. He had his own reasoning and origins. Jiang he felt somewhat confused. No matter how you look at it, these are all merits. Why is the conclusion so different? The heavenly book scholar replied indifferently, that is because of what he seeks. How can a heart burning without hesitation be at peace? How can a proud and aloof saber be willing to be mediocre, unhindered by the world? If you seek riches and honor, fame, or righteousness, they are all good words. However, what you seek is peace of mind. This heart cannot be at peace. As Xiao Chen looked at the word moon on the white paper, he felt slightly stunned, not saying anything. However, Jiang he asked on Xiao Chen's behalf, is there a way to break it? Naturally, there is. This moon is like fire, burning fiercely, eager to soar into the sky. It does not want to stop for even half a step. Just stay here. As long as this moon does not rise, you will be at peace. The heavenly book scholar seemed to have expected this question. He smiled faintly and casually spoke of a way to break it. As the white-clad scholar waved his folding fan, he looked very graceful. Xiao Chen had not expected the other party to see so much from just the word moon. As for whether it was accurate or not, that would depend on whether one believed it or not. Goodbye. The heavenly book scholar closed his folding fan and performed a cupped fist salute, appearing extremely carefree. Wait a moment. Xiao Chen suddenly said softly. The heavenly book scholar's expression changed slightly as he asked, what is it? There's no rush. I will not take out the god's shadow bow again. I want to ask you something. A few months ago, did you receive a young monk with delicate features and divine a fortuitous encounter for him? So what if I did? Nothing much. It's just that the little monk is not happy and wants to have a heart-to-heart talk with you. The little demonic monk Silver Saber. Shock flashed in the heavenly book scholar's eyes. People like him, who were proficient in divination and deducing the mysteries of heaven, were the ones he was most unwilling to meet. After walking the divination path, one would naturally have a deep belief in the heavenly Tao and fate. When a calamity came knocking, nothing good would come out of it. The heavenly book scholar showed a doubtful expression as he looked around and did not see anyone. He smiled and said, "Young master, please don't joke around." Xiaochen smiled and said, "I never joke around." Bang! Right after the heavenly book scholar spoke, the little monk leaped out of the bag on Xiaochen's back. Then, his tender little fist instantly landed on the heavenly book scholar's face. "I ended up like this because I listened to your nonsense. I'll beat you to death. I'll beat you to death." The little monk's baby-like face did its best to make an angry expression. However, no matter how hard it tried, it still looked incredibly cute when paired with that tender little face. The little monk's tiny fist striking the heavenly book scholar's face looked more like an affectionate gesture. However, the heavenly book scholar was in unbearable pain. He clutched his head and scurried around in a sorry state, no longer looking like an elegant scholar. Upon seeing the heavenly book scholar's appearance, Xiaochen felt somewhat pleased. What he hated the most were people who deliberately mystified others and put on airs. Xiaochen felt upset, but it was not to the point where he would make a move to teach the heavenly book scholar a lesson. The little monk, who had just woken up and received a voice projection from Xiaochen, was the most suitable person to make a move. However, when Xiaochen's gaze fell on the white paper on the stone table, the smile on his face slowly dimmed. Out of curiosity, Xiaochen had not expected to end up with a divination that made his heart uneasy and his future difficult. He hoped that it was just a casual remark. Chapter 1848. Why? Why am I so unlucky? Xiaochen nonchalantly spat out these 3 words. I don't know. The instant I raised my brush, I thought of the word moon. Perhaps I have a fate with the moon in my life. Many of the martial techniques I cultivate are related to the moon. The person I like has the moon in his name as well. However, such a person actually had the same goal as him. One contained a great horror in the heavenly mysteries, which could not be divined. The other did not need to be divined, he was horrifying in the first place. Xiaochen's words sounded a little awkward, but his meaning was clear. Not only could they not become close friends, but they might even become mortal enemies. The little monk's tender head appeared on Xiaochen's shoulder. He scratched his head and said in confusion. Xiaochen was not such a person. He was very clear on his own heart. He would not hide it from Jiang He even if he did not want to. Interesting. No wonder I got along so well with you the moment I saw you. Aside from the so-called mixed blood dragon bloodline, as Blades men, you actually have the same goal. It's just a small injury. It's not a big deal. Next time, be gentler. Jiang He, who was at the side, gaped in shock. Brother Xiao, aren't you being too calm? Xiaochen's observation was very meticulous, and he sharply noticed something else. Seeing the little monk's angry appearance, he looked very cute. Jiang He laughed heartlessly. Big brother, are you alright? I want to be the Dragon Emperor. Pu ci. Speaking of which, the 2 of you are staring at each other and doing your best to look fierce. However, there is no killing chi or will of soul infused into your auras. Is this the legendary exchange of glances? This little monk doesn't understand. Fate made fools of people. Sometimes, it was really speechless when it came to the heavens. Just as Jiang He was about to speak, the 3's expressions suddenly changed. The 2 looked away awkwardly, no longer daring to look at each other. They simply could not accept this. The contrast was too great. I'm used to it. However, Xiaochen had no intention of stopping there. He looked straight at Jiang He and said seriously, let's go. He looked straight at Jiang He and said seriously, not caring about what he said at all. Perhaps. The scene suddenly changed. The infant-looking little monk made the situation somewhat awkward. Chen gently wiped off the blood at the corner of his lips. His expression did not change at all as he focused on the words he wrote. He raised his head and looked at the sky. In the night sky, several powerful auras were rapidly gathering towards this place. Even so, Jiang He was still shocked. Just how much luck did it take to subdue the little monk? The little monk on Chen's back was like a cat. He patted Chen's back and stuck his head out like a curious baby. Jiang He felt stunned. Then, he smiled and said, "It's not that I want to say this, but Brother Xiao, while you have the dragon race's bloodline, you are not one of the 6-colored divine dragons. It's good to have such ideals, but don't take them seriously." Flowing light flickered in all directions, and the heaven ceiling formation dissipated on its own. Then, its figure flashed as it flew away. Compared to the slap that almost took his life in the underground world, it was not worth mentioning. Who was it that ascended to the throne of the Dragon Emperor in the end? The Heavenly Book scholar showed a sullen expression as he folded up his folding fan and waved it a few times. That was not possible. If they fought for the position of Dragon Emperor, they would definitely become mortal enemies. As their gazes clashed in the air, sparks appeared. The path of kingship, the Dragon Emperor's throne. The little monk said in his childish voice, choking with emotion. "Ha! The little demonic monk Silver Saber, you finally live up to your name. Ha ha ha." It was best to make some things clear in advance. If they were really competitors, there was no need to be secretive. The Heavenly Book scholar, whose face was swollen, stood up in a sorry state. He looked at Chen and then at the little monk. This was truly an unrivaled combination. Strange. It looked like there was something difficult to say. Along the way, blood dripped from the tip of the saber, leaving behind a long mark. The saber mark vanished, and a saber light soared up like a flame, forming a light screen. However, when the Heavenly Book scholar left the courtyard, he discovered that Chen, Jiang He, and the little monk completely ignored his existence. Chen answered honestly, not hiding anything. The two looked straight at each other. At this moment, the two, who were already very close, became somewhat unusual. Chen picked up the little monk's dudu and tied it up like a kitten's bell. The little monk cried out as his limbs flailed about. The combination of these two demonic geniuses was truly unrivaled. Never be surprised when you are with the little monk. Nothing unexpected can happen. This startled the little monk. He quickly stopped flailing about, lying quietly in the bag. Jiang He consoled, "Actually, there is no need to mind it. That ledger of lives is not omniscient and omnipotent. I believe that Brother Xiao will be able to achieve what you want and find peace of mind. Go ahead and do what you want to do. There is no need to stop." Jiang He revealed a mocking smile. However, he did not know whether he was mocking himself or Chen. The moment I switched the heaven bewildering formation to the heaven sealing formation, it could no longer stop the heavenly mystery tower's great sages from divining. If there is any trouble later, don't blame it on me. When that person turned around, the scene suddenly vanished, and the light screen shattered. This made the Heavenly Book scholar, who felt neglected for the first time, depressed. A mysterious phenomenon immediately appeared. When Chen heard that, he smiled and said, "It seems like you have an unranked bloodline as well. Get up. Stop stepping on my words." Seeing that Chen was still looking at the moon character on the paper, Jiang He asked out of curiosity, "Brother Xiao, why are you writing the moon character? That's not right. I am a curious baby in the first place." Chen felt so frustrated that he wanted to vomit blood. So, he fell asleep and woke up as a baby. Then, he leaped up and landed on the stone table. The scene of two outstanding talents fighting against each other, the indescribable hatred instantly crumbled. It seemed like Jiang He's words contained something that he could not say. After beating up the Heavenly Book scholar for 15 minutes, the little monk's anger subsided slightly. It was not that Chen was calm enough. He was really used to it. The little monk felt depressed and frustrated. He swung his fists around, randomly hammering Xiao Chen's back. The situation turned even more awkward. Jiang He's expression changed slightly. His smile faded, and his expression turned cold, turning grave. However, just as Jiang He focused, the scene flickered. In the next moment, he saw only a person's feet walking towards the Dragon Emperor's throne. Even though the Heavenly Book of Life had always been calm and unruffled, controlling the situation with a wave of his fan, the Heavenly Book of Life was not able to do so. What do you think? So what if he vomited blood? However, he still could not change the fate of being tossed into the undergarment by Xiao Chen. There were very few bladesmen that could catch Xiao Chen's eye. There were even fewer that he could befriend. However, Jiang He was undoubtedly one of those few. The trouble that the Heavenly Book scholar mentioned had arrived. The scene on the light screen flickered. An ancient throne sat at the end of the continuous steps. Xiao Chen sat down again and looked at the saber mark that the Heavenly Book scholar left behind. Then, he reached out and caressed it. Jiang He said, "I'm different." Xiao Chen grunted and vomited a mouthful of blood, showing a pained expression. However, he could not do anything to these two demonic geniuses, one big and one small. He could only hide far away. Are you serious? However, Xiao Chen was certain that the final contenders were the three bladesmen. Xiao Chen countered. He did not want to see such a situation happen. However, sometimes, he could not avoid it. Three blurry figures, each radiating a powerful saber intent, held their sabers, and ran up the steps with all their might. Xiao Chen's sudden question made Jiang He's eyes flicker. After some thought, he asked, "Can we not bring up this topic?" Jiang He felt slightly startled. He instantly recognized the throne and the steps. Then, he anxiously looked at the light screen. Jiang He smiled and said, "You really do not know how fortunate you are. Your physical body has been reforged, and your strength has improved further. Your future potential is even more boundless. Who knows how many older generation experts would go crazy with envy when they see you. Perhaps, I'm different from you." Xiao Chen looked calmly at Jiang He. Then, he enunciated every word clearly, "I never joke around. I really want to be the Dragon Emperor. I am very clear about my inner thoughts and my goal. I will also put in a lot of effort to achieve it, even at the cost of my life. I don't care. I want to become bigger. I want to become bigger." The rage on the little monk's face did not diminish. As he looked at the familiar people around him, they all became giants. Xiao Chen put away the white paper, and the saber mark that the Heavenly Book scholar left appeared on the stone table. Then, he looked at Jiang He and asked, "You want to be the Dragon Emperor?" "That's right. That's right." "Why?" Jiang Shan smiled embarrassedly. "Brother Xiao, stop joking.